Rainier manner to their meeting with our seniors. So this, I'm gonna call the meeting to order and I'm gonna put it out for Luke for you to start reading through it, okay? Agenda of the legislative meeting of the mayor and council for it's a virtual meeting for today, Tuesday, November 7, 7 p.m. Call to order, Luke Chesek.
Here.
Jerry Stolfus.
I'm here.
Barry Woodall.
I'm here.
Daryl Carter.
Here.
All right, we have full quorum. Luke, can you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you so much. We are going to be moving on to item number 2, review of the agenda. Luke, can you go ahead and review the agenda? And I am going to be adding one addition. That is a presentation from the office of Glenn Ivey. We have Ethan here, which will present. So that'll be the new number 4. And it's a quick 5-minute presentation. Okay, but go ahead and read through it. And if we could add that one as well.
Okay. 1 is call to order, Pledge of Allegiance. 2, review of the agenda. We'll review the agenda, adding or deleting topics of interest. 3, mayor and council member event announcements. 4, presentation and discussion on report from the police department. Chief of police will present his report to the mayor and council. 5, presentation and discussion on building application for 2800 Upshur Street. We'll have a presentation from the owner of 2800 Upshur Street. 6, presentation and discussion on building application for 4410 31st Street. We'll have a presentation from the owner of 4410 31st Street. 7, presentation and discussion on building application for 4049 34th Street. We'll have a presentation from the owner of 4049 34th Street. 8, presentation and discussion on building application for 3106 Perry Street. We'll have a presentation from the owner of 3106 Perry Street. 9, presentation and discussion on issues related to community outreach and CERT. Ms. Karen Schroer, Mount Rainier CERT Community Outreach Coordinator, will address the mayor and council on issues related to community outreach and CERT. 10, public comment. On 11, they'll be starting old business, where we'll have the second reading and adoption of Resolution 03-2023 FY 2025 proposed budget calendar. Under new business, 12, discussion and vote on a variance at 4105 34th Street, which has been recommended for approval by the Design Review Board. 13, first reading of ordinance number 07-2023. Amending Chapter 13, Traffic of the Mount Rainier Code to alter certain speed limits on city roads. We'll have a first reading of that ordinance. 14, discussion and vote on the 2024 support letter, Municipal Collaboration, DHCD-Community Legacy, and MEA LMI grants. We'll vote on a letter of support for Building Change Incorporated, MEA Empower, LMI Community Programs, DHCD Community Legacy Programs, LI Solar, and Municipal Collaboration. 15, discussion on Parade of Lights. Councilmember Daniel Carter will discuss making the Parade of Lights a city-sponsored event for 2023. 16, proclamation for the city of Mount Rainier on anti-racism. Mayor Selena Benitez will present a proclamation for the city on anti-racism. 17, proclamation declaring November as Municipal Government Works Month. Mayor Selena Benitez will present a proclamation for Municipal Government Works Month. 18, approval of minutes for September 19th, 2023 and October 3rd, 2023, and then 19, adjournment. And then I believe the mayor was looking to add a new number 4, which would push every item down 1. And that would be a presentation by a representative of Congressman Glenn Ivey's office.
Correct. So I'm going to add it on. Any objection? Any abstention? Hearing none, we are going to add the new number 4. Melissa, can you take care of that for us, please?
Yes, Mayor. I've added already.
Thank you so much, Melissa. So we have here, my apologies. So we're moving on to a new, my apology. After number 2, which thank you, Luke, for reviewing it, Vice Mayor. We're moving on to item number 3, Mayor and Councilman announcements. Just a reminder, the announcements for this are city-related events, city participation events, or or anywhere where you're representing the city officially when it comes to this line item, you are asked to please follow the rules of the court for the meeting that are also established for the residents as we proceed with this point. Thank you guys so much. All right, so I'm gonna start with Valerie Woodall. Go ahead, Councilmember Woodall.
Thank you. Yes, so the Recreation Committee meets tomorrow, November 8th at 7 p.m. The Community Garden is hosting a ribbon cutting on November 13th at 11 o'clock to celebrate upgrades that are being made to the community garden, such as an accessibility ramp and a new tool shed. There on December 2nd, starting at 9 a.m., there's a Sweaty Sweater fun run from the Recreation Committee. And then this is not an event announcement, but it's an announcement. The Gateway CDC has recently added new leadership to it and has released its fall 2023 Lab magazine. And I think that's all I have. Thank you.
And Councilmember Woodall is a representative of the Gateway CDC. One more, Valerie, the Ruby walk. The city is also joining with the PTOs for Mount Rainier Elementary. Do you have that information?
Yes, on November 14th, between 7:15 and 7:45, the Mount Rainier Elementary School and potentially other schools are walking as part of the Walk to School Day for Ruby Bridges Walk to School Day. I believe it's a national event that they're participating in.
Thank you so much. And as it did last time, the City of Mount Rainier Police Department will escort the students and their families walking from 37th Street Park in a way to continue building community and wonderful feelings. All right, Danielle Carter, go ahead.
None of my groups have anything happening in November. Thank you.
Jared Stolfus. Jared, if you're speaking, you're in mute.
Jared might not be.
Luke, you want to go next?
Online, yeah, I can go online while we wait for Jarrett.
Perfect, thank you.
The Green Team has its next meeting November 13th, Monday at 7 p.m. We'll be talking about a lot of things, but it is we'll also be talking about how we're going to get signs for people who've joined the Native Plant Network. We had 30 more certifications, so it's a doubling of those people who are certified to be part of the Native Plant Network. So we have 60 properties in the city that are part of the Native Plant Network, which means they've committed to some portion of their yard being native planting as opposed to grass or something that sort of ornamental landscaping. So that's good news. We'll be talking about a lot of other stuff too. And the Tree Commission meets on Thursday, November 30th at, I believe, 7:30 p.m. A lot of great stuff going on with the Tree Commission for folks who have, tried to sign up for the Casey tree planting. We may, discuss those items. There's a lot of interesting stuff going on with the Tree Commission and how they catalog all the trees in the city. And many more items that they'll look to talk about then as well. So if you'd like to join either of those meetings, they'll be posted on the city calendar and you can join virtually. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Luke. And there's also a link for people to view the trees that they have cataloged. They've done a beautiful job at, so you'll be able to know information about the tree and various things. There's also like a link to this in the city website as well. And thank the team as well. They've been outstanding with agendas and minutes and posting. It's been great work that they've been doing. All right, so is Jared back? Jared?
I don't think he's.
Can you guys hear me now?
We can hear you now.
Hear you now. Go ahead.
I'm so sorry, my headset was muted. Yeah, sorry about that. I have no additional items, event announcements at this time. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Jared. Melissa, can you go to the bottom of the agenda? Melly? Oh, thank you. All right, so we have the upcoming events for the City Veterans Days flag ceremony and brunch will be this November 10th, this Friday from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. at the our police community room. And if you're a veteran, please come and join us. Reach out. The City Administrator Office will be closed on November 10 for Veterans Day, 2 hours early. Thanksgiving basket distribution will be November 21st at the Police Department Community Room. We're already working both with all 3 schools and Rainier Manor 1 and 2 on this quest. Please sign up through the city portal in order for us to be able to reserve a basket for you. The City Administrator Office will be closed November 23rd and 24th for Thanksgiving Day and Employee Appreciation Day. The Creation Committee, Valerie read it, but Sweaty Sweet Fun, December 2nd, 8 a.m. run from Rainier Elementary. You could sign up with them. More information, reach out to Councilmember Valerie Woodall, the rec committee. Breakfast and photo with Santa will be December 9 at 10 a.m. to 12 at the Nature Center. Recreation Community Holiday Outreach Program, December 16. And big thank you to all the families that already signed up to help. And we are working with both schools. The holiday basket distribution is December 15 at the Police Department Community Room, and City Administrator Office will be closed December 25th due to Christmas Day. And I'm assuming Christmas Eve, we might leave 2 hours early as well. Last but not least, it's like for both baskets and holiday distribution, please reach out because we're looking for volunteers for the day of and the previous day to go ahead and help us pack. I know the explorers have been outstanding in helping us out, and a couple of community members have also been, very helpful. This wonderful November 9, I'm happy to say that I, along with other 49 other people, right, but only 3 elected officials are going to be awarded for the work that we do for the community, for Mount Rainier, the county, and the state, and the nation, I've been told. And we look forward to having fun. In Prince George's County, we have myself and Mayor Monica Casañas. And in the state, we also have County Councilmember Natalie from Montgomery County, who's also going to be awarded among various community leaders. So it's definitely an honor to be one of 3 elected officials that is going to be awarded this recognition for the work. All right. Perfect. I can't think of anything right now, so we'll move on to the next one. Before I go, the scholarship information is going to be coming out in December, so be on the lookout to apply for a scholarship. All right, so moving on to item number 4, discussion FY25 community project funding. Through the office of Congressman Glenn Ivey, we have Mr. Ethan Sweep, Community Liaison for Congressman Glenn Ivey, that will address the Mayor and Council regarding the FY25 community project funding available through their office. Ethan, always a pleasure to have you here. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you, Mayor Benitez, and hello, Council. Thank you for having me. I'm sorry that I'm not in a place to turn my camera on this evening, but I can see all of you. So I am here tonight to talk about fiscal year 2025 community project funding, also known as congressional earmarks. This is a grant program available through the House Appropriations Committee process. The Senate also has a very, very similar process, except theirs is known as congressionally directed spending. And what this is that every year at the beginning of the year, after the president's proposed budget is announced, the different subcommittees of the Appropriations Committee decide what money, if any, they want to give out for different types of projects. And these are projects that are specifically for governments and nonprofits. And our office wants to make sure that you are all as prepared as you can possibly be in order to go after some of these grants. So we will be having a webinar on December 4th from 3 to 4 p.m. I'll be sending you more information about that soon, probably by the end of the week. And there we're just going to go over what the congressional earmarks process is, what it looks like in our office, and some lessons learned from this previous year. What I do want to stress about this is that we don't know a lot, if anything at all, about what this project is going to look like in fiscal year 2025. That is left up to the committee, and we have to wait until they release the guidance on it early next year. But again, we want you all to be as prepared as possible. So we'll be having this webinar, and we're also here to answer any questions you all may have about the process. So with that, I will give the floor back and see if there are any questions from Mayor or Council.
Thank you, Ethan, so much. And please extend our thank you for the great support given continuously and being a great voice for our communities, okay? Our team is going to be there. Mr. Kamali, probably Bill, probably somebody from finance as well. So we'll be there. I'm going to try to see if I hop in as well. But my Rainier team will be there represented to make sure we follow through and we know we could reach you. So I'm going to ask the council if they have any immediate question. If not, we'll let you go ahead and go to your other wonderful meetings. We know that we could always reach you, and we're very happy to have you here. And you're so ridiculously approachable, so we thank you for that. So team, thumbs up if we're good, and we let Ethan go and spend his night. He's been working hard. So Ethan, we will release you happily so you can enjoy your night. And thank you for everything you do. And please extend our thank you to Congressman Ivey as well for all of his support for the city as well, and for working so hard for us, okay?
I will. Thank you, Mayor Benitez and Council, for having me. And yeah, if you need anything, just feel free to reach out, okay?
Thank you so much. All right, moving on to the next. The Chief of Police, Chief Austin, is here. Will present his report to Mayor and Council. I do ask that all questions are held until after he speaks. Once he speaks, the council will have a first bite at it. Then we're going to open it up to the community for Q&A, right? And then we'll move forward from there. Council, please be aware that if I do cut, it's because we might need to add more time. So please be ready to add more time as needed, okay? I appreciate that. So Chief Austin, thank you so much for being here. I know you've had a lot of sleepless night and additional work. But before we go into the report, I definitely want to congratulate you and the whole entire team on the 100th anniversary for the police department, an outstanding event that brought various community members and leadership that has been working with the city for some of them like for many, many years. I don't know if 100, but it's taking a whole entire team to put this together. And we're thankful for the whole entire team and the work they do day in and day out, and their families as well. So before I get to the report, I wanted to make sure at least I acknowledge the 100 years of police department and the great community work you guys are doing out there. Okay, so the floor is yours, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor. Please, Mayor, Council, City Manager, please excuse my voice. I'm a little under the weather, but we'll get through this report together. First of all, I appreciate the support. We truly appreciate the support of the Mayor and Council. I'm going to give an overview of a few of the violent offenses we've had over the past few months, going back to May. And first, I'd like to say preventing crime before it happens it's an important goal of ours. While it's challenging to predict every criminal act, there are several strategies that we use: proactive patrol, hotspot, saturation, predictive policing, and a lot of the intel that we developed from our outstanding detectives as well. I'm going to start back, and please tell me at any time if you can't hear me. Let me start back. One of our first violent incidents that we had was May 8th. It was a contact shooting that occurred at 6:22 p.m. in Queens Manor Apartments. The suspect has been arrested and he's been held without bond. The gun was recovered. That all due to the intelligence that our detectives and our federal partners gathered in this case. The second incident was August 16th, robbery and attempted robbery, 8:43 in the morning. MRTV and DC police apprehended 2 suspects in DC. 8:21, we had a rape suspect that fled the country, made it to Honduras on his way, trying to leave the country. Oh, he did leave the country, but he was returned because of the excellent work of Lieutenant Calloway in obtaining a warrant for his arrest. 9/17, there was a contact shooting in Brentwood at 2:38 p.m. We assisted them. And that actually, in the narrative, that was a shootout between 2 groups. Next, 10/8, shots fired. That began in Brentwood at 6:26 p.m. We immediately identified the suspect and an arrest warrant was obtained. That suspect is being held, currently held without bond due to our excellent detective. Again, 10/13, armed carjacking. 10:06 p.m. outside of Little Caesars Pizza on Queens Chapel Road. That vehicle was recovered in Southeast DC. 10:16, there was another contact shooting, 8:06 p.m. that had occurred at 29th and Shepherd Streets. That was an 11-year-old boy who shot his grandfather. He was arrested with the help of our local partners within minutes after the incident. He was also arrested with the handgun that he used. For both of our shooting incidents is on here. Both victims, the one in May and the one on 10/16, suffered non-life-threatening injuries, and they've pretty much recovered. On 10/22, there was an armed carjacking at 12:18 in the morning. It was 3100 block of Queens Chapel Road. We were able to track that vehicle within an hour to an address in DC, Lawrence Street in DC, with the help of DC Police Department, Metropolitan Police Department, and we brought that vehicle back for processing. So we are actively seeking and working with our partners in DC to track down the individuals who were responsible for that carjacking. A couple of days ago, 11/5, there were shots fired at 7:20 p.m. in the 4500 block of 32nd Street. We retrieved shell casings from that incident, and that's actively being investigated by our team as well. Also have Lieutenant Calloway on board as well. I have Detective Ruffin. They're going to touch on some of the cases we've handled and continue to handle as much as they can discuss with our federal partners, who include ATF, FBI, U.S. Marshals, and also our regional partners. Last month, our department hosted the regional investigators meeting for the entire region. So we're definitely out there gathering information on criminal activities. And one of the most important things that I want to let the community know, if it wasn't for the actions of our detectives and the legwork we're doing with our partners, truly our crime would be so much greater in our city. So I really want to thank them. And one element of crime is too much in our city, and clearly even having a fear of crime is too much. So what we do from day to day is to try to predict crime, try to stop whatever we can stop, try to saturate. We're doing that with limited resources. We have officers who take off sick. We've hired 4 additional officers. We have 3 of them are on patrol now. The 4th one is in his field training phase right now. So we're looking to expand, but recruitment and retention across the region is very difficult. We want the very best for our city, and even some of our partners, Hyattsville, Cheverly, they're having a tremendous time keeping good officers and attracting good officers. So Lieutenant Calloway, you want to say a few things?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Hello, everyone. So just kind of give you an insight of what I've been up to lately. It's been extremely busy. Where our investigators are on call 24/7. So essentially what that means is after we leave here at 5 o'clock, we go home. If a call comes out that requires an investigator to come out, I think just last week, I just sat down on my couch and had to pop back up and respond out. So when I say 24/7, we're on call 24/7. We're pretty much never off. And that's okay, because we love what we do. But in my position, I am the administrative lieutenant. However, I do take on cases as well, which can be overwhelming. I'm currently by myself. I'm working 5 sexual assault cases involving minors. All of them have suspects involved with them. Just got one indicted today. But that's on top of the violent crimes and the shootings and everything else we work. Mount Rainier Police, as a municipality, we're very unique because not many municipalities work their own criminal investigations. They use the county to do it. So, and it's a good thing that we do that, because if you all as citizens want to have an update, we can give it to you. Whereas most municipalities will have to wait on the county or an investigator to give them an update on a case. My first year here, I did a 90% case closure rate by myself, investigating major crimes. That's shootings, stabbings, sexual assaults, rapes, child abuse, child sexual abuse cases, so forth and so on, including internal affairs investigations. So it's definitely been busy, like I said, but we are working hard to close out some of these cases. For the shots fired calls, the ones that we're getting, we're classified, we call non-contact shootings. Those are the shootings that does not make a contact with a human being, all right? Or if it strikes like a property or a car. So we'll classify that as non-contact. We still work those cases as if someone was struck by a projectile, okay? So you're going to see officers set up a crime scene. What we do is we collect those casings, we take pictures, we process the casing, and we send them off to the firearms examination unit to see if there's any ballistic matching, were they used in other crimes within, not just in Prince George's County, but anywhere in the nation. And if anyone's familiar with NIBIN, which is pretty much a fingerprint for guns, if you will, for casings and projectiles, we send it to the Prince George's County Firearms Examination Unit. With any forensics we gather or we receive, we do have to submit it to the county for processing. Those processing is prioritized. So if, let's say, that non-contact shooting and we got DNA off of a casing or a fingerprint, and I submit that in, and I'm waiting for a suspect information to pop up, if the county gets homicides, that casing or our information is getting pushed to the back. So we may not hear any results for maybe sometimes a year. So we do investigate cold cases. There's investigations that I worked literally for 2 years and was able to obtain a suspect off of that. So I kind of want to give you an insight of what we're dealing with in the Criminal Investigation Division.
Thank you. And I see we also have Detective Ruffin here as well.
Yes. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. How are you guys doing today?
Fine,
Just
thank
quick,
you.
give you guys a quick update on what I've been doing. I'm gonna share my screen real quick with you.
Melly, can you give him sharing power, please?
All right, if you guys can see, as far as what we've been working on, we've been busy and we've been working hard to make sure that the city stays safe with the resources that we have. Like Lieutenant Calloway said, he is helping me out with getting cases closed. He left me and got promoted. So, you know, I do appreciate it when he comes back and lends a hand to help me out, because if not, I would be swamped. But right now, if you guys can see, like here today, we're working 349 cases. That is a lot. So we had to put all those in and we're working them. It is a stretch on the detectives and the patrol officers. So we are trying our hardest as much as possible to get everything closed down, prioritize to the best of our ability to make sure that we are getting these cases closed and providing justice to the citizens of Mount Rainier. Because what we want to do is make sure that we are being as proactive as possible and understanding trends and getting that out there so we can make sure that the patrol guys are in the area where they need to be to help us to eliminate some of these issues before they get started. However, being upfront and honest with you guys, we are short. Like, we need more boots on the ground. So even with the staffing levels that we do have, we see ourselves struggling, and I see myself with the patrol guys trying to get them in the areas, but we just don't have enough bodies to put them in certain areas. And the other night when we had the contact shooting, the two officers that were working, unfortunately, they were on scene until I was able to get there, and then they were stuck at that location until I was clear. So that means that the rest of the city was uncovered. So it is a struggle right now because we are struggling trying to get the officers in. And even with our complement at 19, when you subtract everybody else, that only gives us 15 officers on patrol. And right now, with everybody staffing, we got about 12 to 13 that are actively working. So with overtime and everything else, it is a struggle to make sure that the city's covered. So we would need to increase just to make sure, because we are seeing trends. It is becoming more rapid. It is spreading, but we are trying our best to maintain it and to mitigate as much violence as possible in the city. So we are working hard to do it. But I just wanted to show you guys some quick stats. Like, for example, motor vehicle theft, we're in triple digits, as you guys can see. And those are vehicles that have been stolen just from the city of Rainier. And that is something that is truly high. If you see theft from autos and theft from motor vehicle parts, we're in double digits as well. So there's a lot of crime that is going on. And unfortunately, like Lieutenant Calloway said, we have to prioritize what gets investigated and what doesn't get investigated. So some of the stuff gets pushed to the back burner, which unfortunately hurts the victim, but it's what we have to do to make sure that we are solving it, the major crimes as fastly and as quickly as possible. So just wanted to show you guys some of the stuff that we are working, but we're trying our best to get stuff out there. But we do need more resources. We do need more help. And I know Chief is working hard to get us that stuff. And Lieutenant Calloway has been tremendous help in helping to get stuff solved. So we're a dynamic duo, but the dynamic duo still needs some resources as well. So, but yes, just wanted to show you guys quick snapshot of the stats and everything else that we're working and the partners that we are working with. I'm working with the FBI right now to solve a couple cases. They have helped us out, solved about 3 cases. So the ATF is working with them. I'm working with the narcotics team to kind of help with a lot of the drug problems that we're having as well. So we have a lot of our partners that are working with us because of the relationship that we've been able to build. So we're continuing to do that as we grow, but we're trying our best to make sure that we're maintaining a safe city as much as possible.
Thank you so much, Chief. Can you talk about, like, you know, the recruitment for officers, how many officers we've been able to recruit and what's going on nationwide? Because it's not a matter of like, I mean, it's not lack of trying that we're trying to recruit good officers.
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, I think the most important part is, as you all heard me say before, we want the very best here. Our city deserves the best officers. The competition is great as far as salary from our neighboring departments. As far as I know, we're looking at our retirement plan, making a better one here to retain officers. So we're all working to get that done. So that would be a great help. As currently we're looking for 3 more officers on patrol. We have we just reposted that again yesterday. We're looking for a patrol lieutenant. It's been extremely hard since Lieutenant Sims left in June to fill that position, because right now our city is not able to pay what patrol lieutenants make in this region. So we're gonna, of course, we're looking to come to mayor and council, city manager, and have them to look at that with us and see exactly what we can do to get that position filled. In all fairness, Lieutenant Calloway has been doing double duty. He's been doubling as patrol lieutenant as well. The sergeants have been doing a whole lot more, but clearly we need directors of a patrol lieutenant. I've been coming out as well at night for these incidents, and I've been patrolling daily as well. So clearly we have a model here of success in terms of the personnel that we have, and I truly want us to build upon that. I know that we have to look at the long-term expenses for new hires, but truly a lot of what we can support by the grants that we bring in, the automated speed money that we will continue to bring in as well. So that's pretty much an overview, Mayor.
Okay, thank you guys so much. And I know that we're gonna make this effective and sweet, I guess, because I know you guys are ready to go out there and continue working on the things that you need to do. That's one of the hard things about having 3 of you guys here, is that you have a lot of work to do. All right, so I'm gonna open it up to council. I'm gonna start with Jared. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Chief and Lieutenant Callaway and Detective Ruffin. Can you thanks for the overview. I think in particular the historical graph was kind of particularly helpful in understanding kind of trends and what's going on. And it's clear motor theft is up, I think, substantially. I'm guessing a lot of that's Kias and Hyundais as well. Can you kind of put this in what's happening in the city in context of what's happening nationally and what's happening in DC?
Yes, crime across our region is up tremendously. Our city has had no homicides since 2019. Our region around us, Hyattsville, Bladensburg, DC is tremendous as far as homicides. We've had contact shootings, as you heard in my report, but we've had no homicides. But clearly, across the region and across the nation, the retention, hiring and retaining good police officers, it's a challenge right now. So we have to make it attractive. We, in our FOP negotiations, our corporals and below got an increase, so that was very helpful for them. But we're looking to definitely increase our sergeants and above to retain them. Clearly, I don't want to lose Lieutenant Callaway or Detective Corporal Ruffin. So we have an outstanding team. Our federal partners have sent me messages that they can't believe the outstanding investigative work that this small city does with only 2 investigators. They think we have maybe 12 or more, but clearly we're not looking to add that many investigators. We're looking to squash a lot of this crime with proactive patrol, with more boots on the ground. And clearly we don't want a militaristic state in our city, but we want a city that's safe. We want to continue to have great officers that are approachable as well. So the community policing aspect is still going to remain our focus. We have to be guardians and warriors to this community. So that's our primary focus.
Thank you. So there's been an increase. Oh, Jared, did it answer your question when it came to like regional, what that increase is compared to cities? So it's not a city thing, it's like a region thing that's facing. Is that what you were asking? And it got covered?
Yep. And I had one second quick question. So obviously increased patrols and the ability to increase patrols can help address some of the incidents such as motor vehicle thefts or help dissuade them. A lot of the recent incidents have been been between known quantities. Someone that awful situation where the grandson shot his grandfather. What steps, and I guess how do you think we can work with other entities in the county, social service and others, and to kind of help address some of the root causes of what's going on here? I think, increased patrols obviously help dissuade petty crimes. A lot of the incidents you've been talking about and that we've heard seem to be beefs between people in the same household, known folks that know each other. And I've heard sometimes, I've certainly read that, exacerbated by social media, performance crime beefs that's kind of get exacerbated on TikTok. And, what work can, I guess, your department do, or really who can they partner with, or how can they partner with on some of these other more sort of pernicious and harder to kind of prevent, dynamics. So that's it. Thank you.
Sure. Let me touch on part of that, Jared. It's tremendous in nature when we have domestic that spill over into violence, when we have incidences that people want to settle disagreements with gun violence. We're in a society right now where even my family recently was affected by senseless gun violence. A young man is now deceased in an incident that should have never occurred. Pretty much, all witnesses say that a gun was brought out for no reason, and an 18-year-old committed the murder. So we have that across our region. And to answer your question about partnerships, it takes us to really get with our Family Justice Center, Prince George's County, which we do have relationships with them. Our crisis mind, crisis intervention team that we have in Prince George's County that we can call out at any time. And a lot of times those are for people who are suffering immediate mental health crisis but have not developed to where it's become violent. So pretty much we have been responsive, but we haven't been able to be proactive to stop these things because we don't know that they're going to occur. We don't know that somebody's going to drive to the city of Mount Rainier and fire gunshots in the air. But when they do, we use all bit of technology and investigative skills to catch them and bring them to justice. So that's where we are. I'm very proud of our team with still a 90% closure rate. I hope that answers your question, Jerry.
It does. Thank you.
We can't hear you, Mayor.
Oops, sorry. Motion for 10 minutes on the clock, please. You could just get them moved. Any discussion? Abstention, objection, hearing none. 10 more minutes on the clock, Millie. Thank you. All right, so moving on to Danielle and then Councilmember Woodall. Go ahead.
Awesome, thank you. Guys, I really appreciate you coming tonight. I appreciate the addressing us. The weekly crime reports are very well received on my social media outlet. And the Facebook page, they all appreciate that. All the information we can get from you that we can pass along. It's been a great help. However, I do hate that we have such a small allotted time tonight to discuss this because we have so many other things on the agenda in so short a time. That is why I'm wanting to plan a public meeting for the residents to come out and speak with the chief and others, the police force and the council about the crime that's happening in our community. I'm getting a lot of emails and texts and phone calls. People are really concerned, and I know that other members on the council are getting emails as well from people I'm not even getting them. What's been said tonight is great, but it's not what the community needs. The community as a whole needs and deserves us to make the time to hear them on this topic alone and give them the time to voice their concerns and have us respond back to them. So I am, and I know a lot of you know this, I'm proposing to have a community conversation meeting to be held either ideally at Nature Center or the Bunker Hill Fire Department. That will give the residents a chance to come out and speak to us. I do hope that at least 2 other council members will support me in this initiative because I feel that that is what the community needs to understand and grasp. Because I mean, even though we have a lot of people here tonight, we don't have even 1% of the residents who, you know, are concerned about this. And my goal is to get the information out to them and help them hear what you have to say to make them feel a little better. You know, Lieutenant Calloway, what you said, that would make, you know, 40 people in a room feel a lot better about what they're perceiving or hearing about on the listserv or the Facebook page. And that's what's important, you know, is what they're hearing from the people who it matters from and not the misinformation that we've all become so accustomed to over the last 3 years. So again, gentlemen, thank you so very much for coming and addressing us. I hope that we can get this planned and do something in the near future. Thank you.
Councilmember Woodall.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for everybody being here. I think it's really important that we address the community, especially since you listed 9 major incidents and 6 of them have happened since September, many of them with guns. I think that's really scary for a lot of parents and families in the neighborhoods. So I'm glad that you guys are addressing that. I am optimistic that we haven't had any homicides since 2019 and that you do have a 90% closure rate. I think that's really a testament to both you, Chief Alston, but also Lieutenant Calloway and Detective Ruffin for your team for really, you know, stepping up and working hard to keep our city safe. I do have 2 questions. First, I know Chief Alston, you've raised a number of grant funds to do community policing and other things like that. Can you talk a little bit about the grant funds you've raised, what they're for, and how much you've raised so that residents know that we are working proactively to keep the community safe?
Sure, Valerie. In the past 4.5 years I've been here, we've raised 1.7 million in grant awards for the police department. Most recently, our grant, Project Safe Neighborhoods Maryland, for $302,000 is for crime suppression, which it pays for overtime for crime fighting initiatives. It pays overtime for community engagement. It also supports the purchase of artificial intelligence cameras and license plate readers throughout our city. So we're in the final stages now of awarding that RFP to a successful vendor. We had to iron out some final things with the Maryland State Police, who run the Maryland Coordination and Analysis Center, called MCAT. Maryland state law says the data that we collect must be owned by our police department. So we had to be sure. We're having another meeting on Thursday with the vendor that will help us link to having a standalone server, so that no data that we collect will ever go to a third party, as far as license plates, AI, video, or anything of that nature. So clearly that's going to be a force multiplier for us with many of our events, incidents throughout the city. The first thing we do as investigators and patrol is canvass the area for any doorbell cameras, any standalone cameras that the apartment complexes may have. And the way we're going to position these cameras throughout our city is going to aid us in the detection of travel directions, alerts that if they come back into our community, it'll give us an alert that we can possibly stop crime before it occurs, because we know this is a felony vehicle that we've already put into our system, or one of our partners throughout the region may have put in their system. So we're truly going to be a game changer for us. It's going to be a force multiplier with that technology and that grant. That grant should have been given to 3 cities, but the U.S. Attorney's Office and the Governor's Office of Crime Control and Prevention, Youth and Victim Services came and met with us and decided to give us the entire pot for the entire state. So we're really grateful for that.
Okay, thank you. And then my last question. I know for a couple of years when we first moved in here, that there were a few different times when the officers would walk and do knock and talks with residents just to introduce themselves and say hi. Is that something that you're thinking about potentially doing in the future or at any time?
Yes, no, we are, and we have to get a full complement. And right now, with our resources that we have, we need officers to be mobile and spread out through as much of the city as possible, because truly proactive patrol is a large deterrent to criminal activity. And as we see, when we're able to post our officers in some of our neighborhoods, it reduces the speeding as well. So there's so many facets that we're trying to implement, but that knock and talk was incredible. We look to get back to that soon.
Thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. Luke, do you win, or did I skip you by accident?
It's okay. I can go.
Go ahead, Luke.
Chief, could you just kind of explain for the residents a little bit about what you were just talking about, kind of the AI and the cameras, and like when folks can expect that stuff going out into the neighborhood?
Sure, Luke. We're looking, we got an extension on that grant. So we have until March 30th of 2024 to get all of those cameras implemented throughout the city. It may be as many as 13 license plate reader cameras and as many as 20 AI cameras. And pretty much those cameras will allow us to pretty much learn if we have a person that's committed an offense who has a red hoodie. We can have that camera to learn and look for that person.
Thank you for that. And I think that, you know, we may also want to think about what kind of communication we roll out with that. So sort of have a communication plan tied to that rollout, so residents know what's coming, what it is and what it isn't. I think along some of the points you made earlier were good about what data it doesn't collect and what data it does collect. And just for residents to understand the need for this. I think, you know, there's been a lot of these conversations over the last few years when crime has spiked. We had the crime spike on 34th Street, and I think Selena will remember we brought residents of Brentwood and Mount Rainier together for that conversation. We had I think multiple times where there's been crime spike behind Gillette there on 35th and 36th and 37th. And now today we're having this conversation, and it's really hard for everyone because we want to not have crime. And it's really tough to be able to solve the issue in the moment. I think that what we can do is continue to really take to heart when we do hear from residents. And then when it comes to making sure our police force is budgeted, making sure they have the tools they need, that we're doing the right thing, and that we listen to them about what it is that they need. Those conversations are not always easy because the city has different priorities when it comes to budgeting. So we do have to balance that. But I do hope that residents engage in the budget process. We'll pass a resolution tonight. I think we already passed it about the budget calendar. And folks should pay attention to when we have those meetings. The city manager will present a budget, and if there's things that you think we should be funding more, if there's things you think you should be funding less, that's a really good time for those conversations. Because there's always more we can do in the moment. Things like, doing more overtime for officers, and sort of spiking a presence in an area. But those things are limited in duration. People can't work 24/7, even though we have a police force 24/7. We can't have everybody working. And I see that my time is up. So I just hope residents understand that we're trying to be as practical as possible in solving this issue. And we're open to your feedback, especially at the budget cycle. I think there's a lot folks can say when crime is up, but I think it's helpful to have you as a part of the budget cycle as well. And I invite everyone to join in on that. I think that's all I have to say.
It's not just your time, Luke, it's the item time. So I'm going to ask for more time to be added. So I was trying to so whenever time stops, just wrap up your sentence and we'll add more time, okay? Because I would like to ask for 10 more minutes to the clock. Can I have a second?
A second.
Any discussion? Objection, abstention, hearing none. We're going to do 10 more minutes. So when you see that flashing on, it's not necessarily not always your time. It's like the overall time. Okay. All right. So thank you so much for that, Luke. I will tell you that key things that we have been very good at comes the weekly reports, the social media. Like the team has been very good at reporting when something happens to alert the residents, what is and what isn't, right? A lot of the time, we also need to understand that we hear what appears to be gunshots or gunshots that we think is in the city, and the team, regardless of it, they respond. And quite a few of the times it's not in the city. But even though it's not in the city, they still work with the partners in other cities and even DC to be able to gather some information to figure out what it is, how close it was to us, if there's something we need to be concerned. So those conversations are also happening on the back end. So please do not think this is an isolated case. The chiefs do talk, they do communicate, the agencies have MOUs between each other, down to the trail derailment that happened in Hyattsville, right? We were able to support and so on and back and forward, right? Even the other night we had officers from 2 other jurisdictions in the city being able to help, aside from the other agencies that do support and help. I think it's a good time for us to since the budget calendar is around, for us to start having communication. And Luke, the discussion about the cameras was brought up when it comes to putting a communication plan out. So that was already in the work of something that's going to be done as well. I got to meet with some of the people that gave us the grants, right? And the multiple circles that I worked on, and they're definitely very happy with the work that we're doing, and that therefore they did grant the extension for that purpose. And when it comes to chief, I know it's hard. We have how many new officers? That was at 3 and 1. That's in I'm sorry, I cannot think of the work right now. In field training, is that the correct term? But we have been hiring more officers, and one of them is in field training, but it is a quick turnaround. So we're going to start looking into even the possibility of some of our officers that might be retiring because they've been with us forever and a day, or they're staying longer time, and also create a plan of what it looks like if they're thinking about retiring, how that will hit us as well. But I think that the ability for us to look into a budget to figure out, how we're going to be able to retain our team is very important, because as it is, I'll tell you, like, they work endless hours, but we also want to make sure that we're not overburning both ends of the stick, giving them so much overtime where there's lack of sleep, because that's how errors happen. The other thing that wasn't brought up, but this team is more trained and prepared than any other police team that we've ever had, with CIT training and additional training in many fields that you know. So that's the reason why sometimes when we report, and I make this abundantly clear to Chief, that we know in other cities, our residents and our officers wouldn't be going home, unfortunately, right? But the fact that, our residents and officers are going home, and some of the incidents that you read that have ended like horribly in other cities, right? Our team is very well equipped and prepared to be able to handle various situations, and putting the resident at the center of this, and making sure we all go home in peace. So I know you covered a lot of information. I would definitely ask for the next weekly report, if you guys could go ahead and put that stat as well. And our communications team is going to put information out when it comes to this meeting topic, so that way residents that are not here tonight are also able to hear the questions and concerns, and be able to address what it looks like. Right now, we are definitely short in team. That's the reason why we are definitely in the past, we are taking the lead from our police department when it comes when to be able to have some of those meetings, because right now it's basically all hands on deck, trying to get to solve these items in order to make sure that they're spending time doing that. The other thing to address is, Chief, I was having a thought of potentially maybe even doing a buyback program when it comes to guns, and working maybe with the county, right? The other thing the police departments have been doing a lot has been removing a lot of guns from the street. That has helped solve. So the message to the community is although these incidents have happened, some of them are individual, right? That's basically what they are. It's not a wave of crime that's happening, just random people coming in and doing all sorts of stuff. And you heard some of the cases that they were discussing, right? And at the same time, they are solving them, they are arresting them, and they are doing a lot of preventive work. Because if they wouldn't, the cases would be so much more than what we have right now. So the team has been doing a great job of making sure preventive methods are on it, and going after as much money as possible, because the cameras are not just expensive, they're also hard to maintain, and the data more than anything to be able to salvage, because we have to be and when I say we, it's like PD, right? Be the owners of that data and information. So if Ruffin, I do see your hand. What I'll do is after you say something, I'm going to open it up to the community in order for them to, if they have any questions they could ask. If you're a Mount Rainier resident, please give your name, last name, block number, street, right? So if it's 3700 37th Street, you don't have to give your specific house. If you're in here, you could put in the chat and I'll call you upon on it, but please make sure we are taking Mount Rainier residents to be able to ask these questions. Okay. Detective, go ahead. The floor is yours.
I just wanted to say thank you, Mayor, because also I'm the detective, but I'm also the FOP president. So I would like you guys to really consider, and like she said, it is great to have all the overtime, but the guys, speaking on behalf of the guys, they are burnt out. They're burning out because they are picking up the extra overtime, and we already work 12-hour shifts. So you have officers that are working 16 hours that are here. Even on their off days, they're coming in to cover, because if we have one officer working, somebody else has to be on the street. So they're taking less time with their families. They're not being able to be here because we do need more officers on the street to help cover the overtime, and not even just the overtime. It's the minimum staffing numbers just to hit. And the officers are trying their best because they are so dedicated to come in and work. And then the aging vehicles and stuff like that, which you guys have talked about and you guys have addressed, but I know it's equipment and things that we need. And the guys they're here. They want to be here. They want to stay in Mount Rainier. They love it. It's a family environment. But like you guys said, also when considering the budget, is one of the hard things for us is for getting promoted in certain here at Mount Rainier and keeping the guys interested and motivated and keeping the guys on financially is one of those burden things, because other people are poaching our guys because they are so good. And to get promoted for me, I would lose money. So it's it's hard for me to say, oh, I want to get promoted, because then I'll lose money. But it's the same thing with some of the other guys that are here. And it's one of the things that I would hope that you guys would look at as we're going through the budget process, speaking on behalf of the staff here at the city. I know the city manager and chief have been working hard to kind of figure out, and the mayor have been figuring it out. But just to be honest with you guys, the stuff that I'm hearing from the guys, hey, I want to stay, I want to be here, but if I get promoted, I'll lose money. Or if I try hard, I'm going to not be able to afford it. I'm working 16 hours, so they're tired and they're trying to get here. And we want to get more people over here, but they get paid more at other locations to work less hours. So, but it's one of those things that we really appreciate you guys' help, and anything you can do to keep the team here together. We're here to work for you guys. We want to be here.
Thank you so much, Detective. We'll be looking at it. Like I said, we have to make very hard decisions, and I know that last year we kept the same number of officers. I think we have increased. I think it went down and then went up, and then we increased it. But we'll look at all of it and then figure what we can do. Okay, but we definitely appreciate it, and that's the reason why we're definitely here. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna open it up to the community from this point on. Okay, if you're a City of Rainier resident, please let me know. So Elizabeth Moore, do you want me to read your comment, or would you like to read it yourself?
You can go ahead and read it if you like.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So Elizabeth Moore, 400 blocks of 29th Street. To get more budget and combined resources, will you consider combining our police force with those of neighboring cities, as we do with the fire department? I have an answer for that, and the answer will be no, at least for me. But Chief, do you have any? I mean, do you have any feedback on that? Because that means, like, if we combine, that means a lot more territory to cover, and we're already, like, covering a lot of territory in Rainier. But go ahead, Chief.
Well, Mayor, I know Luke and I had a conversation a few years ago, and I told Luke when I first got here, I looked at possibly we get rid of all of the chiefs in the area, make one regional department. But once I got here, I realized the standards for the different departments are not the standards that we have here in Mount Rainier. So they may be fine working in those areas, but it's not the standard that we deserve in our community. So I wouldn't be able to retake or bring them over and expect that they would do what we need them to do for our varied community.
Okay, thank you. Luke, is that your new hand, old hand? Can I go to the community? You want to say something right now? Quickly, 1 minute.
That's a new hand. Yeah, I would say, Elizabeth, that's a great thought and something that we've been looking into, and I think something that we should consider to look into. I think there's a way of keeping the culture that Chief Alston has built here, and expanding it outwards so that people sort of buy into the culture that Chief Alston has placed. But I think that move is a complicated multi-year effort that would have to get buy-in from the other cities. But I'm very supportive of it. But it's a multi-year effort that we would have to make a priority, and it's not there right now as a priority for us. But I love the idea, and I've got more thoughts about it on offline if you want to talk. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I think the other thing that you guys have to keep in mind is not all the cities around here 24 hours. That means that because we have the bigger force among the little cities around here, that means going to be tearing way more officers than anything. Some of them have tried to combine, and it has failed terribly, because each mayor and council and each chief feels a certain way about what is that they're asking and what not. And quite a few of the cities rely on the county after hours. After like 5 o'clock, they close shop. So that means that it will heavily fall on our force, because we have the bigger force. And at this point, Hyattsville is also short. And Hyattsville, the fear is always that, where's the line going to be drawn? Because it's Hyattsville short, and they have such huge terrain, which is the next bigger city around us. So most of the way will fall under us as it is right now. We have MOUs, and we support some of the other municipalities because they either don't have the training or they don't have the language skills, and so on, right? But we try to make sure that we're not removing officers to be able to put them somewhere else if they're needed here. So that gives you a little bit example of how more difficult it will be. But yeah, so you do have cities like Cottage City and Conroe Manor try it, and it just didn't work. So now they have their own they have their own teams, and those are definitely small cities compared to ours, but 100% the heavier load will fall under us. And that's not where, I don't think that that's going to help us out. If, you know, and talking to, you know, a couple of the other mayors there, they like having their own structure and their own rules and the people that dictate to it. So it's very, very complicated. Okay. So thank you so much for that. And,
We need to add more time.
thank you so much. Can I have 5 more minutes on the clock?
So moved.
Can you second this since I moved it?
Oh,
Can I have
sorry,
5 minutes?
sorry, seconded.
All right, any discussion, objection, abstention? Hearing none, we have 5 more minutes on it. So I do have a comment from a non-resident, Heidi. This is a very long comment. So Heidi, I will read parts of this comment, but I think that you also need to get with your city to be able to have them answer. Like we said, the chiefs talk among themselves, but I want to make sure that I first give priority to the city of Rainier residents before we get anywhere else, okay? Jared with a D. Anybody on Facebook making any comment or questions? Or is anybody else here that would like to make a comment or question? Please let me know. All right, I see Valerie Selinsky. Valerie, what is your block number? Block and street number. Sorry, I can think of it at the top of my head right now. Thank you so much. 31st
Sorry,
Street?
that was I think the one you saw is just sort of an afterthought comment. I was actually writing a regular comment. The 4100 block of 31st.
The floor is yours if you want to mention it. Do you want me to read it?
I mean, either way. So the first comment I had was that I know that a lot of fire companies have mutual aid, mutual assistance, and I know we have MOUs with communities around us, but I don't know to what extent there's mutual assistance that takes place, which could be one way of collaborating and working together without actually having to merge departments, and then each department can keep its standards and culture, but backing up the other. But what I really wanted to say was that, I wanted to thank the officers because they often have thankless and difficult jobs. But I also wanted to point out that our proximity to DC means that they and we face challenges that regular small town police forces don't. And so I hope that DC and the feds and you know, the people that sort of are the regular, you know, people that would be dealing with this stuff, that they're sharing information and that they're collaborating with us, and that they ensure that we're getting, you know, or that our police are getting the training, you know, the same training, the same sophistication, the same, you know, the same stuff they are, because we're facing it too, or they're facing it too. So that was my actual real comment. Over.
Thank you. Chief, can you talk a little bit about the MOUs and what it is and the partnerships between DC and the other ones, because they do exist and they do collaborate. Go ahead, Chief.
Yes, Mayor. Our current MOUs are with our neighboring municipalities in Prince George. Clearly, we'll see on our
I'm hearing an echo, Chief. Go ahead.
Let's try it again. Clearly, you can see on our weekly reports, there's a line item where there's an assist. Many times we're not going over to Hyattsville, assisting them for bilingual interpretation. Many times they're coming over and assisting us as well. For instance, when that incident occurred with the 11-year-old, when I got on scene, they had set up a tremendous perimeter looking for him with our neighboring partners. He was caught actually getting onto a metro bus. So our team was able to safely command him off of that bus and place him into custody. So clearly, with limited resources, they're facing the same problems we are. But we assist as we can, because I know that with Hyattsville, they don't just normally come over when they hear a call go out. we have to request it. That's their protocol. And actually, that's pretty much what our MOUs say, is they have to request it, request additional officers. The county police really sees us as a standalone agency. They're spending most of their time handling violent crime in the Langley Park area. So when we need them to come out, it takes a while. You'll see their saturation units in our city at our fire department briefing one another from time to time. We had to make sure we put that out to the community, that those are not Mount Rainier officers hanging out at the firehouse. If we're going to do our reports, we're going to hang out in your community. We're going to hang out in a hotspot area to do a report. We're not just going to sit at the firehouse. So we have made that clear to our community as well.
Thank you. And I think that the text has also mentioned the various agencies they're working on, both like, federal and local as well. So it's a partnership as well. And when I say like our team is very well trained, that's part of it. But they also communicate with DC in their zoning as well. So that is happening. Heidi, I did saw the bulk of your question, but Chief, can you talk about what cars are being hit? I know this isn't covering the news, but can you go ahead and talk about what make and models of the vehicles are being targeted right now?
Sure, I'll let Detective Ruffin.
Yeah, go ahead. And then I'm going to ask for more time because I do have Hillary who has a question as well. Can we have like 5 more minutes, you guys? Can I have a motion for 5 minutes for this item?
I'll motion.
Second.
If I motion, you guys second. If not, we have 3 people, but it's fine. Any discussion, objection, abstention? Hearing none. We are adding 5 more minutes to the clock. Detective, go ahead and answer, and we have Hillary next. Go ahead.
Okay, real quick. The cars that are being hit the most are Hondas and Kias, of course. However, some of the things that have been being done now is, I know a lot of people take their keys and they're putting it at the front door as you walk in. Don't do that. Put it towards the rear of your house, because what is happening now, we're seeing more cars that they are dubbing your key fob. So they're disabling your keys from inside your house, and then they're reprogramming keys, and they're taking other cars. So right now, you have Dodges that are being targeted for that, either like Chargers or any Dodge truck or anything like that, or high-end cars are being targeted as well. But the Kias and the Hondas, there's no alarm on the windows, so that's how they're being able to get in. And it takes about 5 to 10 seconds, 60 seconds to steal your car. So if you need a lock bar, that is the one way to prevent it from happening. But put the lock bar on it, or make sure that you guys you put your alarm on, or you are taking your key fobs and putting it away from your front door, because they do have computers that you can buy on Amazon, and they're downloading the keys and reprogramming keys in front of your house, and then they'll steal it and run away with it. So Kias, Hondas, of course, Honda Civics for airbags, Acuras for airbags. So one of the things that you kind of need to focus on those type of cars that they're looking at right now.
Thank you so much. We do have Hillary Varga from 3300 block of Shepherd. Hillary, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you to the council for organizing this. I appreciate the opportunity here, because I think a lot of us are really concerned about the uptick in crime, and I apologize I was late, so I did miss some of the beginning, but would appreciate if some of that initial information in terms of stats and efforts to mitigate the crime could be shared broadly. I know that's a recommendation someone else mentioned as well. I do appreciate the weekly reports. I think someone else said that as well, so thank you for those. And echo Danielle's request for a standalone meeting on this topic. I think that would be widely attended, and people would really appreciate it. And then I guess really it's just a comment that I'm really appreciative of the Mount Rainier Police Department, and I think in any interaction we've had with members of the police force, it's been extremely professional. And clearly the training that you're referencing comes through for people who are engaging. And we appreciate what you're doing, and would kind of endorse the request for resources that you're sharing here. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. I think the other thing to point out is like the police department has done most community events that they've ever had. And a lot of it has to do with outreach into the community. They do visit the schools to read them books. We were just recently last month reading books to youth, right? But also when it comes to community events, engagement, escorting kids when they do the walk-in, right? In a way to also possibly engage with the community. So that way, whenever they're needed, they see a friendly face coming towards them. They call it, was it Human Knife the Batch? I believe that's what it's called on the other end of the department. But they've been doing a lot of that in order for them to be able to be approachable. Last meeting, they also answered questions from community members that they had, and they have become themselves very available as well. And the last event literally just happened in Halloween, so a few days ago, as we are in the middle of November, right? Okay. So I am gonna put an end to this discussion. It was a good almost an hour and a half-ish of discussion. Okay. Thank you guys for being here. I know you guys are eager to go back and do the wonderful work that you do. So Lieutenant Calloway, thank you. Detective Ruffin, thank you. And Chief, thank you. Please rest, Chief, because you need to rest as well, okay, to get better. All right. Thank you guys so much.
You're
okay.
welcome.
Have a good night. Thank you. And please extend my thank you to the whole entire team as well, because they've done outstanding work. Okay. I know they're out there working while you guys were also here. Okay. So consult, we have 4 presentations on household building applications. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to have one after the other one, and then hold your questions until the end. Okay. Because we're basically going to say the same exact thing to each one of them. All right. So that way you should be able to condense them all the time. So hold everything to the end of the 4 presentations. So Alma, we're good with that. So we'll go one after the other one. Fill us in with whatever you need to do. And at the end, we'll give them the spiel that we have for all of them to be able to at least condense some of the time for this meeting. All right. So first up is presentation, discussion, and building application for 2800 Upshur Street, Rainier, Maryland. Alma, anything you need to fill us out about this? And is the resident in here? And can you please introduce them?
Sure. Good evening, Mayor and Council, City Manager. Thank you for allowing us to be here. Doing presentations on multiple properties for building permits. For 2800 Upshur Street, I know we have the owner, Miss Okadibo. I'm sorry.
Okadibo. Yes.
Yes. So she will be giving the presentation for tonight.
All right. Perfect. Hi, Ms. Okadibo. Thank you for joining us, and let us know a little bit about your property and things that we need to know, and welcome to our call. Go ahead.
Yes. Hi. So I'm currently holding my baby, so I don't know if I need to put the video on or not, but
it's up to you. It's fine.
Okay. Yeah. So planning to be a resident of Mount Rainier. So the home has 2 full bedrooms on the main level. However, that's too small for my family. So my plan is to underpin the basement so that I can have more room down there. Because currently, right now, it's 6 feet, and I'm 5'9", and my husband is 5'10", so it's a little too small. So we're underpinning the basement to create a higher ceiling in the basement, and then on top of that, the den on the topmost floor is also with a very low ceiling of 6 feet. We would like to put a bedroom up there as well with a bathroom, just to make the home more complete for our growing family.
Okay, perfect. Anything else that's been asked of this permit?
No, just those 2 things. There's not a washer and dryer, so that's also part of it. No.
Okay, perfect. Alma, anything else we need to know before we move? So if you could just hold on the call until the end of the presentations in case council has some question or any comment, and we'll go back to you, okay?
Okay.
Alma, anything else to add to this or no?
There's nothing to add. They have come forward with all the documentation that is needed. So we're good to go.
All right, perfect. So moving on to the next presentation, 4410 31st Street. Go ahead, Alma, the floor is yours.
Okay, so for tonight, we have the owner who's anxiously want to start this process. I know she's been waiting for a long time. Ms. Macheski, if you can take the floor, please, with your project.
Go ahead. Welcome.
Yeah, on 4410 31st Street, we are taking the back wall out, the side wall out. We are filling up the old crawl / cellar, and that's not going to be living area. So we'll have a first level, we'll have a second level, we'll have attic space that is actually classified as livable space. And we're taking the old sunroom and we're moving that forward to provide additional space.
Okay, are those the only changes for this application?
Yeah, they're in the permit.
Okay. Alma, anything else to add to this?
No, Mayor, everything is good also with this application process.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much. 4049 34th Street. Go ahead. Alma, the floor is yours again.
Sure. So this time we actually have Ms. Culp here to represent. She's the owner of the property at 4049 34th Street, and she'll be giving the little presentation today.
The floor is yours, Ms. Cole. We cannot hear, so if your mic might be muted.
I'm so sorry about that. I was using two screens and I couldn't get my mouse to go to the other screen.
You're fine. Go ahead.
So for this project, we are repairing and replacing the roof of the property. We're going to be replacing a lot of windows that are in disrepair. We'll also be turning the attic into living space. So there'll be the addition of a bedroom, bathroom, and a closet on the 3rd floor, as well as bringing the electrical and other systems up to code.
Okay, anything else on it, or those are just mainly it? So it's just indoor?
Yeah, there's indoor, and then we have on our permit to add a small deck to the back of the property, and then also remove part of the concrete that's in front of the shed and replace it with gravel.
All right, perfect. Thank you. Alma, anything else to add on this one?
All the paperwork is in line also, so we're good to go on that one.
Okay, perfect. Oof, Melissa, that agenda was everywhere. I thought I was losing it for a minute. All right, so we're moving on to 3106 Perry Street. Alma, the floor is yours again.
Well, for 3106 Perry Street is something that we've been waiting for a long time. We have Mr. Winder here to do the small presentation on this property.
Mr. Winter, the floor is yours.
Yes, good evening. I'm representing Mr. Jesus Salvador Leon, who is the actual owner of the property, and he's been waiting a long time to get this done because he wants to move in. It has been approved by PG County DPIE, and what he plans to do is to repair the roof, add some dormers to it, replace the front porch with a new front porch, add siding, new siding to the outside of the building. And also he plans to add additional living space in the basement and improve the first floor with 2 bedrooms, expand the kitchen, and do improvements to the inside of the house.
My apology, my mic was also closed. See what happens? It's contagious. Anything else that we should know, Alma?
No, we're good to go also on this property. We have received all the paperwork.
Okay, so council, that's the last one, Alma, or there's one more that I missed in the agenda?
That's the last one for presentation. I know we have a variance request approval later.
All right, so let's do this ones that are collectively. Council, I'm gonna go one at a time. If you guys have a question, I know Luke usually do the collective spiel, so we're gonna give it to you first, so that way you could give the Brian spiel. I need to just like trademark it, the Brian spiel from this point on. Brian's ears are buzzing, though he hasn't been in council for 2 years, right? Go ahead, Luke, hit all the different things that they need to know, and go on.
Yeah, just we care. I'll start with our trees. We care a lot about our trees in the city, and we have an urban forest code because of that. And I'm sure almost told you all about the things to be mindful of when it comes to our trees, especially trees over a certain diameter. So as you're doing work, a lot of the work I think here is sort of inside the house, but just make sure heavy machinery is staying away from the roots of some of our big trees, because that can cause damage to the root system if need be. Have orange fencing around those larger trees. And then make sure no construction starts before 8 a.m. Or after 8 p.m. If it does, we will get calls, and then we will be angry because we have to deal with calls from angry residents. So please do not be on our angry side, and make sure you're not starting construction early in the morning or late at night. And I think those are the big ones. I think the other thing to be mindful of is if you're moving with the deck construction, if you're moving a lot of clay, be careful where you're putting that clay, because if there's a big rain event, it can create sort of a brownish or a red-brown little creek there that can run into neighbors' yards or down in the street. So make sure your piles of clay are sort of away from clogging up our street gutters or neighbors' yards. So be mindful of that as well. And I think, Mayor, that touches on the Brian spiel. Oh, you're on mute.
They were going to remove some payable payment. I know like you have something to say about that. Your Jared could cover it when it comes to like them looking for grants before they touch it potentially.
Yeah, there is. Thank you for removing concrete and putting in gravel. That does help with stormwater management. There are grants available through the Prince George's County rain check rebate program. That may take some time and may not be on your schedule, but do look into that. You can just Google Prince George's County rain check rebate, and there will be information you can find online about that. But there are ways to help pay for those types of improvements. Thank you.
Perfect. And okay, and there's a comment for Ms. Khalil says, I forgot to mention, would like to explore removing the aluminum sidings of this property at 40, 49, 34th Street and restoring the original sidings underneath. If possible, noted that trees, machinery, soil containment. Thank you. And they have used the rebate program many times over. And they'll plan to plant trees. Yeah, so look into the Native Plant Network that Luke will be happy to provide information on. So you could join that one as well. You forgot that one, Luke. All right, perfect. So I think Jared has a second spiel. If anything was missed by Luke, go ahead.
No, Luke got it. I just want to thank everyone for coming to our city, and you're going to have some great neighborhood, great neighbors, and a lot of the things that folks talking about, rain check, permeable pavers, native plants. A lot of your neighbors are going to be great resources at thinking about things you could do on your property if you're interested. So that's it. Thank you so much, and welcome to town.
Thank you, Jared. Valerie?
Yeah, thank you. I think the main things are just to remember that if you need a county permit, you probably need a city permit for some things as well. So just making sure that you're adhering to that. But that's basically it. Thank you for investing here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Danielle.
Yes, echoing everything everybody else said, and excited to watch these projects start and the finished project. So welcome to the city. Thank you so much.
Okay, so the council cover everything. I will tell you if you have any questions, please reach out to Director of Code, Alma Ferrufino, and I'm sure she gave you this spiel. The reason why you guys come over is to make sure we also give it to you, and yes, it's on record that we gave you the same information, so we do not hear that you not heard how much we love our trees, and the program and stuff like that. So Alma, thank you so much to you and to your whole team for bringing these presentations together and helping the residents along. Residents, welcome to the city, and also please be engaged. We have a lot of wonderful community committees, and we look forward to seeing you. Some of those properties are very close to my house, so you definitely will be hearing from me if construction happens before 8 a.m. I'll tell you this, council is very friendly, but nobody likes to be woken up at 7 a.m. of upset residents of construction happening in the morning. We might be very not sunshines as we usually are. All right, so thank you guys so much, and we'll move on to the next item. And thank you, council, for agreeing to combine them all together. If not, we'll still be hearing like number one. All right, so you are welcome to go or stay. It's up to you, but we have covered your part of the agenda, so I don't want to feel like you need to stay to the end, okay? All right, thank you, Valerie, for putting the information out, and it's also in our city website, as you can see, so stay connected at mountrainiermd.org. All the resources are there for you to also find information how to be connected to the city. All right, so presentation, discussion, issues related to the community outreach and CERT. Ms. Karen will, Mount Rainier CERT Community Outreach Coordinator, will address the mayor and council on issues related to the community outreach. Karen, are you here? Karen? Karen, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you. I don't see Karen on the call, guys.
I see her name.
Here, Karen, I do see you, but your mic is closed. So we'll wait a few minutes. Can somebody from the CERT team text Karen so that way she knows she's up next?
Yes, I can do that.
Thank you, Melissa B. Okay, we're gonna wait about a minute. If not, we either move this item to after the public comments to give her some time to get in. Oh, I see she disappeared from my screen now. Okay. Oh, somebody's gonna have to take over. Okay, so we're gonna move on to public comments in the meantime to give a little bit of time for Karen to join. Okay, so public comments. Lisa, can you put up page 4 of the agenda, please? Melissa, can you move up the agenda? Not Melissa B for sure. Melissa. All right. The council invites the public to be able to give public comment. We ask that you please give your name and your street and block number. As an example, 4300 block of 34th Street. Public comment has a limit of 3 minutes per speaker, unless otherwise agreed upon the mayor and council, and it's agreed to 3 minutes. While speaking, please remain courteous, tone, and avoid personal attacks. If you wish to lodge a complaint about performance or conduct of any city employee, please bring your concerns to the attention of our city manager, and our city manager is Mr. Kamali, who's also on the call, so email them directly, who will look into the matter and respond to you. As a courtesy to other residents and business, the council requests a speaker not use a specific address or names of individuals when describing a situation or making a complaint or a comment. Noting the block is preferred over a specific address. Code compliance and public safety issues should be brought to the attention of the appropriate departments and or of your council members or myself as the mayor. Okay. All right. So do we have anybody in the public that wishes to speak? Please type in your name, last name, block number, street and block number. For example, 4300 block of 34th Street, and let us know if you like to speak. Jerry, is anybody in Facebook that would like to speak or make a comment? All right, and I see no comments on the chat neither, and I don't see no one on there. All right, Melissa, can you move it up to the next item? We're moving on to old business. Is Karen here already or no? Okay, so we'll move on. We'll keep going to the agenda until she joins. Moving on to old business. Second reading and adoption resolution 03-2023 FY 2025 proposed budget calendar. Mayor and council will have the second reading and adopt resolution 03-2023. Can you put the resolution on the screen, please? All right, so it's your standard budget proposed calendar for the fiscal 2025. And we have reviewed at least in a work session and a legislative session, and now again, so this is the second reading. Basically, it says that the fiscal year begins on July 1st, ends on July 30, 2025. And chapter section 74 provides the budget for the next fiscal year to be submitted to mayor and council no later than March 31st of every year. So can you put the schedule up, Melissa? So basically, we're going to vote on it. As you can see, some of the dates already passed, but we have covered and we have been on track with every single one of the dates, starting on September 19, when it was proposed, in October 3rd, the 7th, which is today. And today's adoption resolutions setting proposed budget calendar for FY25. So move on. You have November 4, which is the next meeting, which is budget instructions to all city departments. That's an internal function. And December 29, deadline for the city departments to submit information. February 16, city manager submits the proposed budget to the council. February 20, city manager presents proposed budget to the council. Council holds work session on proposed budget FY25 and discussion of tax rate. March 7, notice published in Prince George's Post and Sentinel or public hearing. Budget schedule for March 2023-24. Constant year rate will be posted and published. Saturday, 23rd March, a public hearing and council work session. Tuesday, April 2nd, discussion FY25 proposed budget and fiscal reading into record for FY25. April 9, public hearing. April 24 is the second reading. May 7, if needed, is the vote, and June 7 is the backup for the vote. So council, I could open up for discussion or just call the question, because at this point, you guys have seen this document at least 3 meetings, counting this one. So I'm going to call the question on approval of the resolution 03-2023 to be voted on, approved as submitted. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, please probably move and second. Any discussion? Any abstention or objections? Hearing none, resolution 03-2023 has been approved. All right. Moving on to the next item on the agenda. Thank you. New business, discussion and vote on variance 4105 34th Street, Mount Rainier, Alma, which have been recommended by approval by the Design Review Board. If you guys don't know, the Design Review Board is the board of residents that we appoint that make recommendations to mayor and council, and they do meet with the residents and they make adjustment and recommendations to them as well to make sure we keep the historical and wonderful character of the city of Mount Rainier. All right, so Alma, I'm gonna give the floor to you. Let us know what the ordinance is, and I see the letter in front of us. Look, do me a favor. Can you go ahead and read through the letter so it saves my throat just a little bit? So move it up a little bit higher, Melissa, where it says Dear Mayor and City Council, and then go ahead, Luke.
Okay. Dear Mayor and City Council, on Thursday, June 15th, the Mount Rainier Design Review Board convened an in-person meeting at the Melinda Miles building to discuss zoning variance request V 2723 for Lot 14, Block 1 of the Mount Rainier subdivision, being 4105 34th Street, Mount Rainier, Prince George's County, Maryland. The DRB quorum consisted of Chair Tony Kokos, Vice Nathan Sederoth, Lance Bushell, and Hebor Munoz, as well as Councilmember Danielle Carter, her first DRB meeting, and Permit Tech Code Compliance Specialist Alma Ferrafino. Also in attendance were the owner Renato De Silua and legal counsel Tracy Scudder. Chairperson Kokos brought the meeting to order just after 7 p.m. From the county, the specific zoning violation resides in the fact that zoning ordinance section 27442E table 4 prescribes that each lot shall have a front yard at least 25 feet in depth. Section 27442E table 4 prescribes that each lot shall have a side yard at least 8 inches in width, 8 feet in width. Section 27442C table 2 prescribes that not more than 30% of the net loss area shall be covered by buildings and off-street parking. Variances of 5 feet front yard depth, 4 feet side yard width, and 2.7% lot coverage is being requested. The meeting was difficult but respectful. At the end of an hour of discussion, all members of the DRB were in agreement that the proposed renovation was way too large for the lot, and that the renovation as proposed would result in the loss of yet another classic bungalow. It was made clear to the owner and his attorney that the board would not write a letter of recommendation to the council to accept what amount to bringing into compliance grandfathered conditions until serious revisions were made to the plans and elevations. The owner was disappointed but very receptive to making changes to the design and said he would come back to us with revisions. On September 28th, 2023, a follow-up in-person meeting was held at 7 o'clock in the Melinda Miles building. Present were Chair Tony Kokis, Vice Chair Nathan Sederoth, Lance Buchel, and Heber Munoz, as well as Councilmember Danielle Carter, as well as the owner. All DRB members agreed that the redesign was a tremendous improvement and could be supported with a couple additional tweaks, primarily reworking the size and location of the second floor dormer windows. Most important, the house would be preserved as a bungalow, but with some modifications. The final revisions of the second floor plan in front and rear elevations were submitted to the DRB on October 23rd, 2023, and are attached. The DRB formally recommends to the council that they write a letter of support to the zoning board for the variances based on the October 23rd drawing submittal.
Thank you so much, Luke. Alma, any other feedback that we need to know about the variance? And we're gonna be attaching the approved DRB form, correct?
Yes, we are. So when we finalize this letter, it needs to go to the Board of Zoning immediately. I'm hoping that can be done actually by tomorrow, because they're due to have their virtual meeting, I think, in the next few days. So I just want to make sure that we get this done for, the owner and everybody involved, because they've been very patient with the whole process.
All right, thank you so much. Danielle, anything to add?
I just want to say that this was my first case that I was able to sit in on as the new liaison for the DRB, and it was a huge learning experience. I want to thank Tony, Lance, Herbert, and Nathan for their professionalism and dedication. I've enjoyed watching the process, and I'm very excited to see the construction and final results of this project. I have a unique front row seat since it's happening right at the bottom of my street. So I get to see it start and finish. I appreciate the work that the Design Review Board puts into these cases, and appreciate the patience and willingness of Mr. DeSuela to do all he could to comply with the recommendations. I would be amiss if I didn't thank Alma as well, because she does so much. I mean, her professionalism in these meetings too, and it's like she's an amazing person as well. So thank you all, and for welcoming me too. But yeah, you guys are awesome. Thanks.
Thank you for your kind words. It's much appreciated.
So thank you. Alma, the only addition I'll make to their letters, like, this still has to have you as a tech, not as a director. So that change needs to happen. I know they fill in the gaps. So that needs to be, because when we go over and talk, they need to make sure the titles are correct as you present to them, right? And it avoids a lot of confusion. So that'll be one of the edits. The other thing, in the past, Brian, being their liaison, has written that letter and presented to us in order for me to sign it and send it. So Danielle, that'll be like one of the things I need you to work on it and send it to us within the next, ideally, 48 hours. Okay.
Oh, you need what from me? I'm sorry, what?
A letter from mayor and council stating that we support the DRB recommendations. So I need that as soon as possible, in the 48 hours if possible, so that way it goes out as soon as possible. Ideally 24 hours, because if Alma's correct, they need this as soon as possible. It needs to be sent via mail, and we still send it via email. All right, so get that done so that way I could get it signed and it could be out the door. All right, okay. Alma, anything else we need to know about this? We're good?
We're good to go on it. Definitely.
All right, thank you so much. And now, is this your last item?
This is my last item, Mayor.
Alma, thank you for everything you do and your team. Have a good night. You could say the whole meeting, but I know, like, it's been a long, long day for you guys as well. Okay, have a good night. All right.
We have to vote.
You need to vote. Oh, okay. Thank you so much. See, Melissa, this is why you're in charge, All right. Can I have a motion to approve the variance on 4105 34th Street as recommended by approval by Design Review Board?
Are you asking for a motion or a second?
Luke, go ahead.
Sorry,
Luke, your mic is open. Okay. Can I have a second?
I'll second.
All right, it's been probably moved in second. Any additional discussion? Hearing none. Any objections, abstention? None. The vote carries 5-0. Okay. Thank you, Melly. Okay, and good night for sure now, Alma. Okay. All right, so we're moving on to item first reading of the ordinance 07-2023, amending chapter 13, traffic of the Mount Rainier Code to alter certain speed limits of the city roads. It's a 10-minute. Jared, I'm gonna pitch it to you so I rest my voice a bit. Can we put it on the screen? There you go. All right, so you guys have heard this in more than one occasion. So this is like basically put in front of you once again. So it's not a PowerPoint presentation. But Jared, go ahead and cover what you need to cover out of this and what it looks like for us.
Yep. So folks, just for as a quick refresher for folks, this was a ordinance that I first discussed at the last work session. And it is an ordinance to lower the speed limit on all streets in Mount Rainier that are controlled by the city. So that includes, excludes Route 1, and which is controlled by State Highway Administration, excludes Eastern Avenue, which is actually outside the city in DC, excludes Queens Chapel Road, which is also outside the city in the county, but includes basically everything else. So we provided, in leading up to this, we did a engineering study that basically measured speeding across the city as required by state law. Before we lower the speed limit, we need to do a speed study. And that study was carried out by a tool design group tied into their Vision Zero plan that they're doing for the city. That study and presentation are available on last week's work session if folks want to look it up. So nothing's changed in this ordinance from last week, so I will just commence reading it. And here we go. City of Mount Rainier, ordinance number 7-2023, amending chapter 13, traffic of the Mount Rainier City Code to alter certain speed limits on city roads. Whereas Maryland Transportation Code annotated section 25-102A, subsection A, section 10, allows a local authority such as the city of Mount Rainier and the reasonable exercise of its police power to alter speed limits for highways under jurisdiction in accordance with Title 21, Section 21-803. And whereas based on the investigation of traffic conditions in the city council has determined that conditions dangerous to vehicles and pedestrians exist on many city streets where the current speed limit is 25 miles an hour, due in part to the reduction of speed limits in the District of Columbia on roads that pass into the city, in part to increasing traffic as area development intensifies, and in part due to other sociological and other factors. And whereas, based upon the investigation, the city council has determined that a reasonable and safe maximum speed on these roads is 20 miles an hour. And whereas the roads in question are located in an urban district, areas that include a street and are built up with structure that are devoted to business, industry, or dwelling houses that are situated at intervals less than 100 feet for a distance of at least 1/4 mile. And whereas the city council has adopted resolution number 1-2023, creating the Safe Streets Task Force and directing the creation of a Vision Zero Safe Streets Plan Committee in the city to make efforts to improve conditions on the roads within its jurisdiction in order to reduce accidents, injuries, and fatalities of persons using the roads. And Section 1, now therefore be it ordained by the Council of the City of Mount Rainier, Maryland, that Chapter 13 traffic of the Mount Rainier Code be hereby amended to add Section 13-114 speed limits to read as follows. Section 13-114 speed limits, the maximum speed limit on all city roads having a posted limit of 25 miles per hour on September 30th, 2023 shall be 20 miles an hour beginning on February 1st, 2024. B, appropriate signs shall be posted giving notice of the 20 mile per hour speed limit. Section 2, be it further ordained by the Council of the City of Mount Rainier that this ordinance is adopted by the Council of the City of Mount Rainier this day, 2023, and shall take effect on the later approval by the City Ethics Commission on the day in 2023, provided that a fair summary has been read at the meeting in which it is introduced and adopted, that a copy be posted at City Hall for at least 2 weeks after it becomes effective, and that a fair summary is published at least once in a newspaper having general circulation in the city, inclusive of the city's newspaper, mailed and otherwise delivered to every city council, and provided that mayor and council shall hold a public hearing on the ordinance at a meeting held not less than 14 days nor more than 45 days after its adoption. That is it. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Thank you, Jared, for also lining up what the next steps are. Can you put it up to the agenda item, please? And CERT, it's going to be after this item. You guys are going to be up. Please make sure your team is ready to speak, okay? All right, there you go. It says, go. Second reading, the proposed resolution, no. There you go. First reading of the ordinance 07-2023. So we don't have to do nothing but read it. Jared, thank you for putting a good read to this. On the next reading, we're gonna have some numbers plugged in, so that way we have more of a clear what it looks like. We will work with the administrative team to make sure that they could start looking at what hearing days need to be, and sending that information out to the newspapers as required. Okay, cool. How do you call it? Council, I'm going to go around if you have any questions or comments. If not, put your thumbs up and we'll go right next to the next item. We're good, Jared, good. Okay, so remember, this is the first reading and you see this document a couple times already, and you'll see it a couple more times before that. All right, perfect. So we're going to go back to the presentation discussion for on issues related to the CERT outreach. And CERT, we have Karen, you are here. I do see you. All right, the floor is yours. You have 15 minutes, including our questions. Go ahead.
Thank you very much for your time, Mayor and City Council, and I'll be brief. You may recall that back in February, Melissa Behringer and I presented to the City Council about CERT and our outreach efforts, and we were really trying to be as inclusive as possible and reach out to and represent the diversity of Mount Rainier. And really, that's what the item pertains to this evening is. In an effort to continue to do outreach and engage as many community members as possible in CERT, we want to make sure that we are inclusive. And so I think we have a common goal with the city and CERT, and that is to have active, engaged participation from city members in volunteering for CERT. I guess really what I want to bring to question or ask about is the requirement to have resumes when people apply for different committees in the city, because it seems somewhat at odds with the goal of inclusion and equity. It seems to me that we could simply just have a form and ask people for some basic information that the city wants and not require their resume. I fear that, especially like in my role as the outreach coordinator for CERT, that it might be counter to our goal of being inclusive and might present a barrier to inclusion. So my question simply is just like, can you help us understand the need for the resume? And then also, would it be possible to have an alternative or even just make the resume an option for community members, but ask them to complete some basic questions when they are applied to serve in different committees or in volunteer roles? That's all for me, really. Just really want to better understand that requirement, and if there is some flexibility around it so that we can be as inclusive as possible. Thank you.
Go ahead, Luke.
I know that in the past, the city has kind of always requested resumes for people who come just trying to get on committees, so that we can keep a record of like who it is we appointed to the committee, what their background was. But I'm open to a discussion about if there's a different way to get the same information that the city needs, what that would be and look like. But I don't know what others have. I'm open to what others have to say as well. I know Selena's been here for a long time with us, and we've been, I know Mayor Miles has been asking for resumes for a long time, and has been, so that's just sort of how we're doing things. So, but open to a discussion on if there's a way we can get the same information. And we may also want to just check with our city attorney to make sure she's comfortable that like we're covered from people ask us like why we put people on committees and decisions we made, if we're covered there. But I don't even know if that matters. I just am sort of, I think this is more of a thing we've been doing, and I don't know what else Selena might have to say or others.
All right, perfect. Jared, and then Valerie.
Yeah, no, Karen, thanks for coming tonight, and also thanks for soldiering through what was a very long council meeting, and still has a way to go after this. So I appreciate your patience and you taking the time tonight, and for your contributions on the CERT committee and for everyone else on the committee on the call too.
I'm going on and off, so okay. Sorry to cut you off.
Sorry about. Can you hear me now? Hopefully caught all that, but basically just a thank you to you and the committee. Yeah, so I think I'm certainly where Luke is. I just, my in terms of like, finding the right way to certainly get information from folks. I think it's kind of something we want to engage Alyssa, our municipal council on, just making sure we're covered from a liability standpoint. I would say from being a, both a grantor and a grantee in terms of receiving or giving funding, a lot of times you want to be able to demonstrate, who is participating, who is engaged, and who is, who has been involved in the recipient of funding opportunities. I know some of the funding from CERT comes directly from the city. A lot of it can and could be in the future coming from other funding sources. And in particular, a lot of times funding agencies want to have a very, you need to demonstrate. In fact, I've been on the other side of this, needing to know who, who's carrying out programs with public funds, particularly when they're provided by someone outside the city. And even if they're inside the city, I mean, we want to be able to demonstrate to taxpayers, here's who's participating in the committee, and so forth. One thing you said, I just wanted to push back a little bit on. I'm the child of immigrants. Some that are, may have various relationships and mastery of English, sometimes that may have varying status and so forth. I think I would push back a little bit on the idea that kind of just asking for some kind of background information is necessarily creates some barriers. It does the idea that I think folks that are in our community that are, positioned differently socioeconomically, are I guess can't provide information or couldn't feels a little odd to me, but then I'm happy to have a further discussion about that. So, but I think that's certainly kind of my thoughts on the subject. I think a lot of it is looking at our requirements in terms of, especially if we're receiving or plan to receive future federal or state or other funding, and what documentation requirements we need there, and then just I think a general accountability from our in terms of knowing of course who's participating in a committee like this, particularly one that emergency response and is out potentially in front and engaged out in the community, not just kind of working necessarily quiet in the background. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna go Danielle, then Valerie, and I'm gonna ask Mr. Kamali to also speak. Go ahead.
Okay, awesome. Melissa, can I share my screen? Awesome. Let's see if it's right here. Okay, to a couple of your points about a better option. I did ask some of the residents who do volunteer and don't volunteer and ask them about the idea of a resume, and everybody said it felt more like a put on. The reason you would submit a resume for a job is to potentially allow the employer to thin the herd, so to speak. A resume answers a lot of questions, but they're answering questions we're not asking. We need to ask the questions we want answered. And so this, as a lot of you know, most of my life I've done volunteerism. In fact, I've been a volunteer coordinator, and that Mayor knows that personally. So these are some of the questions that I would, as a council member, argue that we should be asking, not just of CERT, but potentially everybody, and making a resume optional. Can everybody see my screen, first of all? So,
yeah, you have 3 minutes. Do keep that in mind, okay?
Yeah, no, I know. I've already timed everything. I'm within my time. In addition to the demographic information, including the name, address, ward, phone number, email, if they owe money to the city, that's already on the website. Now, we could ask these questions. What committee are you interested in? How did you hear about it? Why do you want to join? How do you feel you can contribute? Do you have any education that you feel could benefit? If so, what? Do you have any experience you feel that could benefit? If so, what? Are you able to dedicate 1 day a month to meetings? Have you volunteered before? If so, what organizations? And are you willing to get a background check and allow upload of a resume as an option? I'll leave that up for just a second. You know, a lot of you guys know me, and I'm gonna, you know, make phone calls and find information out. And I did make some phone calls from other cities around PG County and the state to find out if they require specifically for CERT resumes. Bel Air said no. Upper Marlboro, no. Greenbelt, no. Hyattsville only requires an email address. College Park has optional to upload, but it's not required. Cheverly, no. University Park, no. And these are just for the CERT team. And that's because CERT is a FEMA organization. It is a citizen core group. The idea is to include everybody. It doesn't matter if you're in a wheelchair, you're blind, or you can run a marathon. There are jobs and availabilities in the CERT team for anybody. So again, I would argue, I have no problem, and I know the members of CERT have no problem with a questionnaire to see how somebody can fit into the CERT team. But a resume doesn't answer the questions we need answered. Who cares where they worked 20 years ago? Who cares what high school they graduated from or what college they graduated from? We need to know how and why they want to volunteer and how they see themselves contributing to the city. Thank you.
Go ahead, Valerie.
Thank you. And thank you for everyone for being here. So I guess, I mean, to make an informed decision on some of this, I think, first of all, like, do we have any sense of how many people are being turned away or not joining things because of the resume response and need? Because I think that questionnaire is actually a lot longer than a resume would have to be. I don't think a resume generally is meant, like, for example, like if you are a trash hauler, you know, and you have a resume that says, I am a trash hauler. I don't think most of our committees would turn those people away if they wanted to be a trash hauler that serves on the recreation committee, for example. Like, you know, more power to you, we can clean up after our events, right? Like, but I think just in terms of thinking through this, I mean, a resume just as a record of kind of where you've worked, what you've done, kind of your skill set. And so I think this questionnaire is actually a little more intensive. So I just wonder, like, you know, can we do some kind of data analysis that tells us, you know, how many people are really off put by this? Is it anecdotal? Is it real? You know, what does it look like? And then, you know, I think, you know, having a document that states this kind of stuff, I think that's not a hard thing to put together. And I think if we have people that are nervous or scared or having a hard time with that, I think that's something that we can definitely build into committees as needed to some extent. So I just think, like, we should think a little bit more holistically about what this looks like in terms of producing a one-page document that says, I've done 3 jobs, I've graduated from here, you know, and then if you need more questions for the CERT team, I think that's something you can definitely build into your committee forms after somebody fills out the initial intake form that's on the city website, which is pretty comprehensive already. And the other thing I would say is, actually, I'll stop there. I think that's good. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Mr. Kamali, and then I'll go next. Go ahead.
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council, and hello to the CERT team. I appreciate what they do for us. But as we know that all the committees are funded by the city, especially the CERT, and I would like to organize those documents and make sure that every member of each, you know, committee has a resume, and that information will help us with the auditor, also with the finance department, because I do receive email from people that requesting for reimbursement. I would like to know who are they and to get more information on them. So the resume, a simple resume, can provide a good information to the city. And most of the committees that we have, they have in compliance, and I do appreciate CERT to put something together. And if we're asking, you know, more, too much, I'll be glad to talk to them. I'll be glad to help them, even to put the resume together. So I do appreciate your help, and we're trying to organize the city. We're trying to have documentation in the city. And by sending your resume, it helps us to have more information on each committees. I appreciate your cooperation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. And just a point of clarification, Mr. Kamali is the one that runs the day-to-day of the committees. And also he is the point when it comes to activating CERT. Is him or his designee. Most of the time will be probably chief, but that's basically the way this works. I'll tell you guys where I'm at. I've taken CERT training for several years. I did decide to do a refresher this year because after COVID, I feel anybody needs to do it because things change a lot more. I think that nobody was 100% ready for a global pandemic the way it was. So I did took the training this weekend, and I did ask the instructors about the requirements the city is putting together. I know that the county is working heavily to like make sure they get there as well when it comes to like resumes, application, backgrounds, and stuff like that. They're still dealing on figuring out how they're going to pay for it. And they also made it clear that even though like somebody's a police officer or works for the schools, that doesn't matter. They're going to have to require their own background check be provided through the county in order for it to even count. You can even carry background checks from other organizations. At least for me, I have a couple background checks, and some of them, the people that were sitting in the training were at the federal level, they have like clearance upon clearance, and it didn't matter. That's something that they're going to have to move forward to doing it. So right now, it's like they're working on how to go about pay for them. And I explained to them what is it that we're asking for. And I'll tell you this, I took the training. Some of these things are very important for people to know, especially if you're going into a building. You need to know what kind of training the person has. So if you're doing traffic control, some of the things that are being asked are very basic things that we're asking, committees that don't even have funding with the city. So I'm hearing, it's being put together by FEMA and stuff like that. I fully understand that, but the CERT team in the city of Mount Rainier was created by the city of Mount Rainier. They fall under the city of Mount Rainier insurance, and we are liable for many of the things that question was asked. Some of the other CERT team committees that were brought up to this meeting that were mentioned, they start on their own. They don't take one penny from the city. And as a matter of fact, some of them meet with the police department, but they have to fund to go to their own training. And that's something that I did have a communication, not just with the elected officials, but the CERT team themselves. So in saying that, even the other cities that do not fund their CERT team, they're looking forward to making sure the applications are being submitted because they are using the city name, but also the city locations. So that's something to keep in mind. When it comes to the training logs, or something else that was asked for the CERT team, is 100% important because if they are dispatched, but in this case by our city manager who has the power to dispatch them to XYZ, right? He needs to be aware, are there 3 or 10 or one CERT member that is trained in what is being asked to do? So that is something that I will tell you that training is very intense. And this is not my first training. I also did, like, as you guys mentioned before, the Dallas training. The difference between this one and the Dallas training, either one, I don't get paid, right? Either one did not use money from the city. But the difference for me, at least, that I was able to take from the other one was that I got to not just immerse myself, but also had a lot of time debriefing in the 48 hours, 44, because I spent 4 hours of meeting here with the council, but that allowed to. But when it came to me asking about the resumes, about applications, they said that is basic information we're requiring, and we should have it because it's a trust issue between the city that we need to be able to have that information. At the end of the day, we want to make sure the residents know who are the people that are being appointed to this committee. So appointments are happening at all levels. Resumes have been asked for as far as Mayor Miles. I know Shavali was working on them. I've been working on them, and it's basically with the ask of the various city managers, so trying to help them, organize, that information to see. One was asked from the councils, like, where were we at with the various information? What do we need to do and how to move forward with it? So to me, I do agree with Valerie that I think this other extra questionnaire that was put in front is even more in depth. I have no problem with doing the city, doing the resume, and doing that one as a third option for CERT to add it to the basic information that's being required. So they'll have OT along with the training. But I'll tell you this, in December, we are going to be swearing in the last couple of committees that are not sworn in. So that way the residents know and our city manager knows that these are the people that are been identified through the city as like point persons for the various committees. So that way, if he gets an email saying X person needs reimbursement for this or Y for this or whatever it is, he knows that they have not only been made public who they are, but at the same time, make sure that they also, you know, he knows that they're accounted for it, so that way he knows who to fall back if something happens. So at least for me, we're not asking gigantic information. If sir wants to add the extra form, I'm happy to add it, but the basic information should stay because it's what it is basic. And I'm not only a migrant, I speak, you know, more than one language, right? And I'll tell you this, either to volunteer or to go for a job, all of us have to turn in a resume to be able to do this. I had to turn a resume when I was 15 years old, many years ago. So even talking to some of the information, so it shouldn't be a determinant. The other reason why the resume and the application are important, mainly because it tells us if there's any conflict of interest of decisions being made. Because if you work for a company or you have certain background that are telling us, you know, that we should not be doing this, it also alerts us that. And keep prime, when decisions are being made in the city, want to make sure it's done by city residents. So therefore, that's the reason why oh, sorry, Luke. That's the reason why it's important for us to have that information so that we're reliable. So I'm going to put 5 minutes on the clock. Have a motion to put 5 minutes on the clock. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you so much. Any discussion, objections, abstention? Melly, I am so sorry. I didn't see it in the screen. It was moved. All right. And thank you, Luke, for bringing it up. All right. So at least that's where I'm at this point, and I'm going to open it up to the public. Okay. All right, so I have Valerie. You want to speak or you want me to read it?
You can read it.
Okay, it says resumes mean different things to different people and in different times. Perhaps a decision for one page, surely nobody wants to see a 12%. Valerie, we could definitely add that to the how do you call it, to the page, right, Mr. Kamali? We could always add, like, you know, you could submit as short as a one-page resume, and this is what it is. That's a wonderful suggestion. Thank you for that, Valerie. Valerie Zelinsky, my apologies. You got Jason Hancock. An option for citizens is to join the volunteer fire department within their communities. 100%, that's also an option. Okay, and we do have in the newsletters information about how to join the volunteer fire department. So, and who to reach is there monthly. We put it, and every time the newsletter goes out is in the back of the newsletter. Okay, anybody else from the community that wishes to speak? Let me know. Luke, is that an old or new hand? I'm not sure which one is it. I apologize. I moved the screen.
It's a new hand. I would just like to do a second round of discussion, but we may need to add more time for that.
So go ahead if you want, and then we'll add it as needed.
Okay. I would just say that I think I think we all want the same thing, which is the information that we need to be able to both make good decisions on who can be on committees and then have a record of how we came to those decisions. I think that there are good points made on why submitting a resume might be a little bit difficult for some people. And I think that it probably, like, if you think about it from just a practical perspective about what information we need, I think some of it was with what Danielle provided. I think you'd want to ask another pointed question, which is, you know, do you or any entity you're involved with does business with the city, something like that. Like, but I think it would be easier if we just had an online form that people ask questions that forced applicants to give us the information we need to make decisions. Because I'm not sure we're getting the information that we need from resumes all the time. I mean, I've always found the statement of interest to be the most important thing when I'm sort of thinking about who we're appointing to committees. And I just think that a form that would be online with smart questions giving us the information we need to both make a decision and protect the city's interest, it would automate all that information. We'd have it stored. We wouldn't have like a separate document resume that we'd have to keep track of. It would address the concerns, I think, raised by the members of the committee about people feeling like, you know, they wouldn't want to write a resume. I haven't updated my resume in I don't know how many years. So I think it's just kind of annoying to have to update a resume and think about giving it. So I am totally open to having a streamlined process with questions that people just automatically fill out. They can attach their resume if they want. I think it would meet everyone's interests and be a lot easier for residents to apply for committees. So that's where my head is at. Thank you.
So look, are you saying that we should restart the process with all the committees in order for them to provide this information? Is that what you're proposing? Because a lot of the committees are almost there. We need like maybe the last 3.
No, I don't think that's necessary. I don't think people need to go in and like redo things. I just think we'd have to figure out, we'd have to agree what all the questions are moving forward, and we'd have to sort of post them there. But I think there's just ways that, to the extent there are committee members that don't want to do a resume now, I think we can find out what information we need for them and get that information from them. But I think if we brought this to a work session and really figured out, like, you would tier it up, right? So we have our issues. We have making sure all the committees are up to date with their information. What's the information we need? If they didn't give it, great, let's work with it and figure it out. Number 2, what's the process we want? We're moving forward. Let's figure out what those questions are, and let's have an automated process that makes it really easy for residents. And I think if we work together to address those 2 short-term and long-term needs, I think we can figure it out in 30 minutes. Thanks.
I would say to you that we need to have everybody sworn in by December, right? That's where we're at right now. That's a deadline that we give ourselves. And at this point, we've been rushing everybody to get it to where it's at be. More importantly, the CERT team, we need to find out what their training requirements are, because at this point we know nothing. So even to deployment, I wouldn't even feel comfortable deploying anybody except for like the 4 people that I know that are trained. And that's it. Other than that, I cannot account for anybody else trained. I know Melissa's trained. I know Shivali's trained. I know Millicent is trained. I know I'm trained, right? And I'm not even like, I'm not even going to be on the list of deployable. I'm like the last of the last, if the case need be, because of my position, right? But I will say to you that I'm open to doing resume, the form that's already online, because the form already exists online, Luke, and adding whatever else they want to add. But even the small form that is online is like 3 basic questions, and it covers some of the things that are there, right? But if they want to do the other one as well, they're welcome to add more. But I think we need to have basic for all of them, so that was easier for us to line stream and when we're like doing audits and everything else that comes along with it. My thing with it is like, if we start doing like paper cut for everybody, it's just going to get very messy very quickly. And this is how we got to the position where we had like, people that self-appoint to leadership positions, and we have no idea who they are. So when we are saying like, they have made quorum to open meetings, we can even determine that because nobody's been appointed to those committees by any of us. And the city manager definitely cannot determine it, because if we don't know it, he has been very clear on the fact that he doesn't know it either. So there's a lot of other stuff that we need to work on. And if you think within the next 2 weeks that could happen, great. But then that means I need you to push forward to make sure that that happens, because if not, we're going to continue falling into the same errors that we've been doing for many years. And many of us have been trying to get this together. But Council, since Luke opened it up, I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys your 2 minutes of stating your piece. All right, and
Mayor,
then we'll
time
move
is
on.
up.
Thank you, Melly. Can I have 5 more minutes on the clock?
So moved.
Seconded.
Any discussion? Objections, abstention? Hearing none, we have 5 more minutes. Melly, give me a 1-minute warning, okay? I'll get better at it. I'm sorry, it's already like 9:20. All right. All right, Jared, the floor is yours.
I mean, I'm certainly open to, certainly flexible with, I guess, thinking about different approaches. I just, don't want to reopen a process that, seems to have worked generally really well so far. I'm also, I just want to, again, I want to defer to the city manager and legal on what information do we need to be collecting for volunteers, that other folks that are there is both a liability to the city, responsibility to the city, and also responsibility to funders and others that in terms of information we collect and maintain. So I'm certainly open to different approaches, but that should be the number one thing that we are kind of framing the lens through, and that's really going to frame my answer. I understand the different folks, different approaches. Like I do again want to I don't think it's unreasonable to ask for certain information for committee members, regardless of background. I don't, having had a, family and myself, and, maybe coming from sometimes pools that are different than a lot of times the civically engaged folks, which tend to be a lot of upper middle class homeowners, and often of kind of particular demographics. I feel like a lot of things that we've certainly historically been asking are not unreasonable, and I am almost a little bothered by the fact that someone with a different language background or someone with a different educational level is somehow challenged at producing a document that certainly family members of mine that have been in the situation before have certainly never had problems furnishing. So that's my 2 cents. At the end of the day, look, we're spending a lot of time on an issue that kind of revisiting an issue that we've kind of been working through already. I'd really defer to city manager and legal, like what are our requirements? What do we need for liability? What do we need for managed liability? What do we need to maintain in terms of records to, for when because we have committees are not just kind of unrelated groups of volunteers. They are representatives of the city, and we need to recognize that. And I understand that comes with a lot of that comes a burden sometimes, and additional administrative headaches and check boxes and stuff like that. But I mean, that's part and parcel of being a recipient of federal funds, public funds. Thanks.
Thank you, Jared. Danielle, Valerie.
Thank you, Mayor. To your point, Mayor, actually, talking about certifications and training and things of that nature, to also go to Jarrett's point about accountability and things like that. The CERT team actually has a training officer whose sole job and sole purpose is to keep track of, well, other than finding other training for the members to participate in, but to keep all documentation of all training and certification of every active member of CERT team. So at any time the city manager goes, hey, I need to know how many of your members are certified in CPR, how many have completed CERT, how many have completed FEMA IS 100, how many have done this. The training officer, their specific job is to keep these records. So at any time, Mr. Kamali can, pick up the phone to me or Tim or whoever, or Melissa, and say, I need this information. And CERT is obligated by the resolution and their bylaws to produce that information to the city. So the resume is a completely different animal from the training records and certifications. Again, and Valerie, I understand what you're saying as far as, the questions are long. I just threw out a bunch of questions that I thought might, appeal to people that would give us answers to questions we might think of asking somebody wanting to join any of the groups, not just CERT, but anything. And, again, I like what Luke was saying. I'm down with doing that. I'll be more than glad to put some ideas together. Since this has been my, job for many, many years, doing things like this. And I think that there is an opportunity here that we're all kind of on the same page. We're just at different paragraphs. But I think that if we work together comprehensively, we can get this done.
Thank you, Melly. Go out 5 more minutes because I need to give a chance to Valerie and myself to say something. And Mr. Kamali, if you want to say anything else, go ahead. I have a motion to put 5 minutes on the clock. Can I have a second?
Second.
All right, thank you. Any discussion, objection, abstention? Here none. Here's 5 more minutes. It is 9:24. Be aware that I'll be doing a time check, and then from there on we'll decide whether this meeting continues or we hold. All right, go on.
Thank you. Yeah, I agree with Jared. I agree with generally having, I looked through the FEMA CERT guide, you know, and having resumes was one way to protect the city against liability issues. But I think, I mean, listening to Luke, listening to Danielle and others, I think, you know, the main things we need to know, right, are contact information, you know, address, record of employment to some extent, whatever extent that exists, and various trainings, right? And so to me, a resume, one-page document that could state all that would answer those questions. But if the word resume is scaring people, then that's a question that we should solve. And I think it would be helpful to know how many people are, you know, how many people have decided not to join CERT or other committees because they're, you know, this is an impediment to them. I don't know if we can get that information, but it would be helpful for me to know, you know, we're losing 60% of the people that could volunteer because of this one requirement. That would be helpful to know to some extent. And I don't know if the city manager or others have that information, but that would be helpful for me. But I think there's probably definitely a way forward to make sure that we have all the information. And I think the city's form currently is pretty robust as well. So thank you.
Thank you, Valerie. I will say to you guys that I'm fine with the city form and the resume. You guys want to call it potpourri, but just submit the information through it. And at this point, I kind of feel like put it into Word document. It makes it easier for the staff to be able to house it in one place. If you guys want to individually put, because that way now, like, I mean, I heard some complaints about even the 3 questions we have on, calling it like a whole encyclopedia of information. And the 3 questions are, why would you like to join this committee? Can you let mayor and council know, you know, any additional information on you and have you pay your taxes, right? 3 simple questions, right? And if CERT feels like you guys need to ask more questions, I'm open to you guys submitting that big form that Danielle has and submit it along with your resume. That shouldn't be a problem. The other thing I did sign the chat that said that, like, you know, anytime that, you know, the city manager could request this information, he has requested and so have we. And at this point, we have not received it. So I don't think that I'm not sure if that has been communicated to the team, but the city manager and as well as myself have requested that information when we went ahead and put the spreadsheet together that said, like, this is what we need. And basically the keeper of the information is the city manager and his designee is the city clerk as the administrative, like, you know, director. So when that sheet was put together, there is space right there for them to be able to put the name and the basic information, including the training. So Tim, I said you have the information. I did type the city manager web email address. He'll be the one getting it. He'll get it to his team. You know, because he's the one that dispatched them. And with the idea of, like, if there's 3 people trained on X and they know how many are, that way they're fully aware what they're dispatching in order to be safe for the rest of them. And like I said, I literally took the training this weekend. So on Sunday, I asked the question. So this is not like years ago or months ago. On Sunday, I asked the question and I was told that that is basic information that we should have. And they see nothing wrong with it. And I said, thank you, I appreciate that, right? But that point was brought up and made to them with the stuff like they're also organizing their house. And I said that we're working on it very, very well as well. So to me, being ahead of the curve when it comes to the things that they need is nothing wrong, but we're definitely far behind on the things the city needs. So to me, I do concur. It's like down to our scholarship recipients, they need to fill this information out, right? You know, and they prepare packages every year and some of them, they apply every single year. And just because we have their information, you know, Melly's the one that, like, checks it, correct, Melly? Melissa doesn't say, oh, I saw your information from last year. We don't need it anymore. They have to submit everything together. The other thing is, like, I'm hearing titles of people that are part of CERT. We do not, like the city, Mr. Kamali, do you have this information? Who's who on the CERT committee? Are you even aware of who title holds what and what it means? So that tells you guys that there's a big disconnect on what CERT is doing in their meetings and even us. So I've seen agendas coming in on Monday when they're supposed to be like 48 hours before and posted in our agenda. And quite a few of our committees are already doing that. They've been doing that for years where they, like, submit the agendas 48 hours before, like the Friday before the meeting. If their meeting is, like, let's say on a Tuesday, but it's usually, like, you know, days before, is being put in the calendars. And that way the community also know what the agendas are. And same thing goes for the minutes when they're approved, you know, they're being sent to, like, you know, the city. So that way the city knows who is approving this, so that when the city manager receives an email saying we need to get this reimbursed and he needs to make the best decision, that is taken care of. So I will definitely will ask that you submit to us like who is what in the CERT team, at least the 5 or 6 positions that are part of the CERT team, because in order for quorum to be met for meeting or decisions need to be made, a quorum needs to be made, and that cannot be established if we don't know. And then bring them forward so that way for the December meeting, we're able to appoint the different positions are on it. So there's a lot of work to do in the committees. The resumes and the basic information, step 1. Open meetings training for the members is step 2, and that goes for everybody, not just for CERT. Being able to like mentor to what it needs and not needs to be is also there. And I'm happy to like meet with you guys in your meeting, because I realized I've been made aware that I've been the topic of the meeting more than once. But I'll tell you the other thing that was brought up in the meeting this weekend, that the teen CERT has to be 18 in order for him to join. Nobody under 18 should be able to join CERT. That they made it very clear. And it has to do with liability of the city, but also FEMA and the things that they're put. They did mention also, like, if they're deployed by the county, they're going to start asking for background check, because if they go to shelter working with youth, it's also needed as well. So, so they're not going to take a risk, and we're not going to take a risk neither. So that's the reason why we're trying to get where it needs to be, and CERT is one of the last few groups that needs to be. So if you guys provide that information, the city manager will be in contact with you guys as, like, you know, the person that runs the city. And I wrap up with this. I would like for you guys to make sure that on December, for the December meeting, actually the next meeting in November, you submit the names of who your officers are, so that way the council will review and move over to like voting on the positions, to appoint the positions on the December meeting. So we at least like establish quorum in the meeting so we can move on with that. Okay. All right, so I see time's out. All right, Tim, thank you so much that you have that information. You'll send it over. I definitely appreciate it a lot. Okay. All right, so moving on to the next item. Discussion and vote on the 2024 support letter for municipal collaboration for DHCD, Community Legacy, and MEALMI. Can you put the letter in front, Melly? All right, this is what the letter looks like. And this is a program. Luke, if you recall correctly, we do this every few years. What's it called? Retired Colonel Flynn usually is with us. Basically, he's submitting for a letter of support. They get funding and they help our community. That's more or less what it is. And it's under old business because we do this like every time it's needed of us. And this has been going on. Actually, Rainier was one of the funding cities that did this back. You know, Mary Miles was like mayor forever and a day. So it's always back to her. But so this has been going on for a while. I know me and you, at least, Luke, we have approved this. I would like to say at least 4 times, if not 3. I think every other year or every year comes up. Okay. So do me a favor, Luke, can you go ahead and read the letter so that we have it for the record?
Yep.
And I'll sign it, send it tomorrow if we approve it. Go ahead.
Yep. Dear Ms. Freeman, we are writing to express our support for Building Change, Inc., BC, MEA Empower, LMI Communities Grant Program, MEA Low Income Solar Grant Program 2023 and 2024, and the Department of Housing and Community Development Community Legacy Grant Program and submitted proposals. We strongly encourage you to fully fund the respective applications. We will support this effort by providing our municipal grant manager or designated official as needed. We believe this project will greatly help several of our low to moderate income households, veterans, and senior citizens by rehabilitating homes, decreasing their energy bills, ensuring sustainable communities, as well as help the greater community by decreasing our carbon footprint. Should you have any questions, please feel free to contact me at 213-700.
You don't have to say the number.
Sorry.
I mean, put it up. So the only change I'm gonna add is I put my email address and the city address. I think that he's done it because he's done it for a while. But I'd like to put a motion on the floor to approve the letter of support. Can I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any discussion? Objection, abstentions? Here none. This letter will be signed and sent tomorrow. Okay. All right. So moving on to the next item.
I've been trying to say something on the last issue. If I could we don't have to do it now, but if somebody can like email me and let me know what this program is that we're supporting, because I've never heard of this.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll go ahead and send it out, but it should be part of like the package. So just all right. So Moving on to the next item, it is 9:34, so be aware that we're coming very close to the end of this meeting. All right, Mr. Clearation, okay, all right. Discussion on Parade of Lights. Councilor Carter will discuss making the Parade of Lights a sponsor event for 2023. Go ahead, in 15 minutes include discussion, so just keep that in mind for everybody.
Thank you, Mayor. The Recreation Committee has said that they are not going to be able to do a lot of the programs and events that we did when I was chair because they don't have the means and manpower to do them. With that said, there are a few small events that the city has been doing that the city can do on our own to continue the traditions that we started back in 2018. One of them being the Parade of Lights. This is an event that encourages all residents and businesses to light up their properties for one specific night. Over the years, we have seen people light up their homes and apartment windows to participate. There have never been any religious overtones to this event, and in fact, the call has always been for people to light up their yard for whatever reason they want. Christmas, Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, winter solstice, Yule, show your pride for a group or event, or effort, or just because you like lights. Traditionally, we have had 5 cider stations around the city that are areas for residents to congregate and get a little something warm to drink or eat and meet other neighbors while out looking and enjoying the lights. The mayor has always sponsored one, thank you, Mayor, as have a couple of other residents. The only year we didn't do it was in 2020 because of the pandemic lockdown. We also had Santa ride around in the police car with holiday music playing while handing out candy to kids and adults during the event. The Recreation Committee would reimburse up to $30 for food and drinks for 5 cider stations. We would also have yard signs printed up for the winners of community poll and replace the date on the traffic circle banner. If everyone turned in receipts for the total for their cider stations, the total of this event would cost between $250 and $300 if you factor in the candy for Santa. The Santa suit is used by Recreation Committee for the holiday outreach, and Mayor Benitez uses it for the breakfast with Santa. Unless there is more than one suit floating around that I'm unaware of, there should not be a problem in using the same one since it's shared between other events as well. This has always been a great community building experience. Hello? Sorry. This has always been a great community building experience, and I would love to see it continue. The date has always been the 3rd Saturday of the month. That means it would be Saturday, December 16th this year between 6 and 9 p.m. The holiday outreach is being held that morning, so there would be no conflict between events. I checked with Bob. I just need 2 more council members to agree that this is a valuable event for the city. Thank you.
Valerie.
Thank you. So I mean, one thing I would just like to clarify is that the Recreation Committee this year is reconstituting itself and rebuilding itself. And so we are, actively still recruiting 1 more board member. And, as the Recreation Committee decided, the 2 co-chairs decided, along with the current board members, decided to host 4 events this year and make them super impactful events rather than having a number of smaller events. I think the Parade of Lights is definitely something people love to participate in, and it's something that the Recreation Committee did bring a lot of cool value to, but it did feel like for the Recreation Committee members currently that having 7 events in the month of December was going to be too much. And to spread out the events and to make sure that we had time to build and to make it fun. So right now, the Recreation Committee is working on hosting a Sweaty Sweater Fun Run, which should be really fun on December 2nd. And then the Holiday Family Outreach that you referenced, Danielle. I think this Parade of Lights can certainly happen. I don't see any reason why community members can't organize a Parade of Lights for themselves to do this. I just don't know if it's a city event. And I know the Recreation Committee is not going to do it this year. That doesn't mean it might not come back next year. It's just a matter of building bandwidth in the committee. So I'll stop there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Valerie. Luke, then Jared.
First off, Valerie, I love that the rec committee is focusing on just like 4 events. That when I was there, I kind of wanted to push in that direction, like just think through, like just you got 4 seasons, plan 1 big event for each season. So I think that's really, really smart on their part to just from a capacity standpoint. I have a question for Danielle. Danielle, were you just trying to run this from just the, we have the line item for city councils to use funding from. Were you just looking to just use your allotment for that to do this event?
Yeah.
Just you run it with no recreation committee and just like organize it and do it all yourself, like, city council members and mayors in the past have done, like organizing things themselves.
Yes, that's what I did. And it
Okay.
it would only be for this year because Bob said they might pick it back up next year. This is just to keep
Okay.
it.
I have no problem if any elected official wants to spend their line item however they want to spend it. I'm like not going to get in the way, so I'm fine in supporting you doing this. This is how you want to use your funding. Thanks.
Jarrett? You're muted, Jarrett. Well, actually, you're not muted. You unplugged.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah.
Put the headset down. Yeah, no, I Valerie, thanks for the background on committee. I know we're, committee membership ebbs and flows. Folks can fall in and out of being able to support and participate and, and so forth. So, and I appreciate we're kind of focusing on, a bunch of, some big efforts. I think it's for a lot of part-time volunteers, or often very limited time. It makes participating in a committee, possibly more manageable. So, so thank you there. I guess I'm essentially where Luke is. I think if it's just something you're kind of running out of your own efforts, I think that's fine. I think if we're asking for additional staff time, it's going to involve additional staff time. I think that's an ask from Mr. Kamali and so forth, because I know. And I just want to say this, like, in general, I always want to be mindful if we're asking, when we ask staff to do that stuff, especially in December, which a lot of stuff going on, possibly snow, hopefully, well, yeah, hopefully not. Well, no. I mean, it's snow is great until until we have to plow it. But I just want to be mindful of the burdens we place on staff, particularly in a month where there's a lot of things going on and a lot of staff may potentially be on leave and so forth. So just want to be mindful about that. So that's my only comment.
Thank you, Jared. And I'll pass it to Mr. Kamali because he's the one that's in charge to run the day-to-day, and then I'll speak. And keep in mind that the staff is going to be out quite a bit of time, so it's not going to be an easy month for any of us. Go on, Mr. Kamali.
All right, thank you, Mayor. Yes, definitely. We have so many events that is going on right now. And to be honest with you, staff capacity is very low. Right now, coming this Friday, we have the veterans, and then we're gonna have the Thanksgiving basket and also the Christmas basket. So many events is listed, and I do appreciate if the council consider the staff capacity. That's all.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. I think I read you guys a list of events and how many times we're going to be off. The staff is going to be taking some time off from what I understand, right? And that's the reason why we're not adding anything else on it, because it definitely requires for them, because if it's city sponsor, it requires for them to live some other way, whether we realize it or not, whether it's like posting, whether it's like announcing it, whether it's advertising, all of that. And I'll tell you this, I do the year in a 2 years calendar, and we're cutting it in. The reason why the sweaty fun run is in, because it's like the rent community is running it, because if not, like if it was the staff running, there's no way. As it is, I'll give you guys a perspective. This Friday, we're having Veterans Day, so we're all hands on deck this week. We're having the ribbon cutting on Monday. We're participating in the, then we have a week to put the baskets together, and Tuesday's gonna be all hands on deck. And I mean, like, the staff is there from 3 o'clock in the morning all the way to the last basket gets on. And I'm even considering like changing the day for the meeting, because there's no way me and the staff are going to be able to do a 3 a.m. call and still walk into like a long meeting like tonight and be here for more than like, usually counting 20 plus hours. So if the staff has anything to do with it whatsoever, I will say I know, because the reality is like we're trying to put an event two weeks into like right before December. I think this is something that I will appreciate, like, to be asked for, like, with plenty and ahead of time. As right now we're going to be working on food drives, toy drives, and everything else that comes along with it. So it's not an easy as of here the baskets and they are done. I mean, we're like hauling tons and tons and tons of food, and it's all hands on when it comes to for the team. And that's without counting, like, the explorers usually have their celebrations and different things that are on. So at least I am, if anything has to do with like staff capacity, I'm at a no, because we have less than 30 days before the year is on, and quite a few of the time the staff is already wrapped up busy, or be like with hands-on something else that they've been pre-planning. Because I'll give you an example. The basket preparation doesn't start a week from now. This is like month and work that they have put lists together, and we're working with people. We're talking about 600 baskets that we put together, and outreach and everything else that goes along with it. So it's no easy task for any of us. Me being like the voice for the city. As a matter of fact, today I was in a different city and I had to do, how do you call it, like media for Veterans Day and talk about pothole and everything else. I'm even like being stretched thin, and there's only so much it could be asked from all of us. So I am at a no to add any more events, and that includes, like, with Mr. Kamali we have talked, and I'd be like, even if I have a great idea, I'm more like, forget it, nothing's happening between now and December, because it's just so much, even including for my own personal budget, because it does take a tear and toll on the staff, even if it's something as small as that. So that's where I am at.
I want to thank everybody for your comments. I do want to reassure.
Danielle, do you want the floor? Just ask for it. Okay. Do you want the floor?
Please. I thought it was just responding to everybody's
No.
comment. Yes,
I
please.
usually call upon you guys. Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Sorry, I'm sorry. I just want to let everybody know that in the years past, we've never really used city staff except to like put out information like on the communications, or put up the banner. Public Works would put up the banner or bring it down out of the circle. As far as the event is concerned, there is no real city staff needed for that, because the community is the one that hosts it. That's why the cider stations are volunteers by the residents. Karen, and I mean, there's been a lot of people, including you, Mayor, who have done them before. The police department have only ever done the Santa thing as a volunteer thing. Chief Morgan really went all out that one year, but that was on them. That wasn't our request. They offered to do it. So there is, I mean, I could do this with my hands tied behind my back and my eyes closed, but there is no city staff needed. There really isn't. I'm sorry, but thank you.
Okay. Anyone else, since we're opening for the second round?
I would just say I support her using her funds
Okay,
for
Luke.
line items, with the caveat that, we don't use any staff time other than, maybe her sharing a posting with Pink to post something, communications online, which we all use staff for, and I don't think that's too much to ask. Thanks.
It is if the staff is not here. That's part of the problem. And just be aware. I mean, you might, be aware that some of the staff is going to be out, and that's part of the reason why they're doing pre-work ahead of time, in order to make sure that they don't run into it. So fine. Luke, thank you for your comment. Jared, Valerie, where are we at? Do you want to speak, or how do you feel?
Nothing additional. Thank you.
Valerie?
Come to the Sweaty Sweater Run on December 2nd. I think that's it. Thank you.
I know that's going to be fun. Thank you you guys are heavily promoting it as well. So that's good. All right. Can I see the agenda, Melissa?
So does Danielle have clarity? I don't know if we left, can she use her funding for that?
I mean, you're yes, she said yes. I mean, but you're saying, like, we're saying it has zero staffing. That means like no Ping, no Public Works, no nothing. Is that what we're clearly saying? Because the city manager says the staff has zero capacity, period, including PD, including everybody right now. Okay. So that's what I want to make sure that is clear. That's what I said, like, the city manager spoke for himself. That's the one I'm sure. So a lot of my information is also based on what I know the staff is not going to be here for.
Kamali, could Pink take an email from Danielle? If Danielle says, can you please post this online? Can she be able to do that? Does she have enough capacity to spend 20 minutes to do that?
Yes, that's fine. That's
Yeah.
fine, but
Okay. So I think we can,
yeah, that's fine. But Mayor is correct because so many people are gonna be on vacation, including Pink. Because I just saw the request today, and Melissa can talk about it too. But it's all right if you guys want to do it, we'll do it. That's fine.
Danielle's got to work with you
Yeah,
then.
but we
that's-
appreciate, look, to make sure that if there is a plan, if there is something that the council wants to do it, to give us enough time, enough heads up. Because we cannot just, that just came up last week. And I wish we had known about this, long time ago. There are some priorities for the city and I have a short staff. I have only one communication person, one clerk, and one IT MRTV. That's all we have. And too many events are going on right now. We even cancel the staff lunch today because we cannot make it on November. So we push it for December. And that was a discussion between me and the staff today. So I do appreciate to understand that. That's all.
Yeah, the other thing to point out, guys, when I said the staff is going to be here starting at 3 a.m. that day, that means I have to take additional time off during the week to make up for those hours. And I'll tell you that unless you've been out there in the cold for that many hours taking care of that, I don't think you realize how long it takes for the staff to be able to recuperate after. So that's the reason why I'm at a no. And like, Kamali told you, he already canceled his plans. I thought about an idea and I told Kamali, never mind, because I can even pull it because it's like too much. That's the reason why, several of us are waiting until next year to be able to utilize our funds. Luke, I know you want to be supported, but at the end of the day, are you going to do like some of the lifting in order to make sure the staff doesn't do it? Is that what you're telling us? Or how is this going to work?
I think Danielle is going to do all the lifting. I don't think she's going to use any staff other than forwarding Pink an email as soon as she can about maybe publicizing. But I think that outside of that, I'm not planning to do anything. And I think this is all on Danielle. And I don't think Danielle can speak for herself about if she expects to use any more staff time than just an email to Pink about posting.
Okay.
But I agree with you, Selena, and I agree with Kamali. I don't want to use any staff time for this. Thanks.
Okay. I'm hearing Danielle said yes, obviously, right? Where you guys are at, but with the clearly understanding that no staff is going to be used aside from an email that I sent. And I'll tell you this, it's going to have to be done cohesively because Pink is going to be out and I don't want later on to be put in a situation where she's being accused of not doing the work because she's out. She already has everything pre-planned and Pink is ridiculously organized and so is Melissa. So they have these things like time up and ready to go. So we are asking extra work from her. So be aware that we're stretching them thin. Even this meeting, as long as it is, it's already too long for people that come in before 9 o'clock and do work. Okay, so where are you guys with it? Because I only hear 2 yeses, and with that caveat, I need to hear from you guys to move on. Or if I don't hear nothing else, I'm just moving on to the next item.
I thought I already gave feedback. Sorry.
I'm sorry. You went back and forth. So I wasn't sure, Jerry, and I don't want to speak on behalf of anybody.
Okay, no, I'll just
Time
restate.
is up.
I'm hearing 2 people. Jared and then Valerie, if you need to say something, go ahead.
We need to add more time, as Melissa said. Sorry.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Melly, can we have like 2 more minutes to the clock? Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, objection, abstention. Hearing none. Go ahead, Jared. My apology.
I want to repeat what I said earlier. I'm certainly supportive of you doing this on your own time. Just, as Mr. Kamali said, work with him with whatever, within the bounds of whatever he's able to offer, given all the other responsibilities. That's all I got. Thanks.
Yeah, same thing. Thank you.
Thank you, Jared. So I guess it's a go with the caveat that the staff is not going to do anything. And please be aware that any signs, banners and stuff like that, they have to be approved by the city manager before they go to H&W to get paid. So staff is gonna work on it, guys, whether you guys think so or not, because they need to clear the approvals in order for this to go out, including the banner in the circle, and the signs that go on it and the awards that go on it. So I know you guys think that no staff is gonna be used, but I'm telling you this right now, that ain't happening. But we're moving on to the next item. Danielle, you already heard what the council said, and we're moving on to the next item. All right, proclamation of Mount Rainier anti-racism. Mayor Benitez present a proclamation for the city of Mount Rainier on anti-racism. I'm sorry, guys, I am so tired. I've had a long day today. And it was election day. For many cities, we're not doing this again because it was very hard, many of us that are supporting other elected officials. All right. Okay, so this is the proclamation from you anti-racism standing out to celebrate diversity in our community. This was mainly put up for me because to a certain extent, I've been receiving a lot of hate mail, racist email when it comes to residents addressing me, addressing the city, addressing other residents. Comments as, people ridiculing an accent, calling people that live in the city foreigners, even saying that people speak too fast in order for you to understand them, are very demeaning, racist, and they should not be tolerated by the city, a city that is welcoming and a city that should be standing in their values. So the staff is feeling very hurt. We have a very diverse staff because they've seen some of these messages and they feel like if anybody could do it to me, they're easy targets as well. So this resolution is put together to also take a stand when it comes to the staff knowing that this is not acceptable for them to be attacked this way. And it's not acceptable for people to attack me as well because I'm a migrant, even including in work places or in the community or when it comes to conventions and meetings. It's not going to be tolerated. And I need to speak up and say something because if I, as the mayor, don't say nothing, this will continue. And I'm not dealing with this anymore. I dealt with it for so many years. And we have a diverse community. We cannot just say from here on on, like we're diverse, we're proud. And the minute somebody gets attacked, we don't say nothing about it. So I'm going to go ahead and read the proclamation. It says, whereas the city of Mount Rainier is enriched and empowered by the cultural diversity of our community and members, and whereas anti-racism is a deliberate act of opposing racism and promoting a society that is thoughtfully and just with equitable opportunity for all people, and whereas the city, along the citizens of the community, have shared values that all members are created equal, and there is no room for discrimination or mistreatment on the basis of nationality, race, ethnicity, sexual preference, religion, or any other reason. And whereas the city of Mount Rainier strongly condemns all forms of racism, discrimination, bigotry, bias, and hate speech in our community, as well as other cities. And Melly, can you put it up? Thank you so much, Melly. Whereas we are committed to foster an inclusive community where everyone is respected and treated with dignity, and whereas racist attacks toward community members, staff, or elected officials should not be the norm accepted in the city of Mount Rainier, and whereas racism include racist ideology, prejudice, attitudes, discrimination, behavior, structural arrangements, institutionalized practice, resulting in racial inequality, as well as fallacies notion that discriminatory relationships between groups are morally and scientifically justifiable. And whereas racial prejudice historically linked to inequalities in power reinforced by economic and social difference between individuals and groups, and still seeking today to justify such inequalities is totally without justification. And thank you, Melly. Whereas every community member, regardless of where they're born, languages they speak, religion they practice, ethnic background, accent, disability, or sexual orientation that resides in the city of Mount Rainier is a member of our community, and this is home. And whereas the city of Mount Rainier used to be a sundown city, and we have worked for many decades to be an inclusive city and never go back to those dark days, and now therefore be a resolve, I, Selena Benitez, Mayor of the City of Mount Rainier, do care proclaim the City of Mount Rainier celebrates our diversity, stands against all forms of racism, discrimination, bigotry, bias, hate speech in the City of Mount Rainier, and every year from today on, and urge all citizens to stand up against racism in the city. And this document will go up on our records, and it's going to go up in all of our social medias. I read it here so you guys are fully aware of this, but I'm not dealing with attacks anymore quietly, and I don't think nobody in the city should be dealing with them as well. And I do thank, those that actually reach out and say something to me when I was receiving them. And those that didn't, you make your own choices. But at the end of the day, it's like, if I don't stand up for the residents and myself, I'm not any good as mayor. And I will tell you this, our staff is very diverse. and they're very proud where they're from. They're very proud of who they are, the multiple languages they speak. And it's also affecting them to hear and see these things. And it's important for them to understand that I'm standing with them and for them, and we're not going to continue doing this. And that goes for any elected official that makes remark there, no matter whether it's in the city or outside the city as well. All right. Thank you, Melly. All right. Proclamation declaring November as Municipal Government Works Month. This is something we do every year, part of our banner city for MML. Can you put it up, please, Melly? If you guys notice, the Municipal Government Works flag is already out. It has to go out every November. Our team goes ahead and posts M&W work that highlights the very things the city does and is showcased on the MML website, as well as their social media, in order to highlight the things that we do for the city and why the municipal government is important. MML, the Maryland Municipal League, has 157 different municipalities and 3 other not municipalities, but equivalent to it that are part of it that have been added, special districts. That's what they're called. That are part of also the league, and more of them are being added. So part of this includes making sure that we showcase why municipal government works when we have many areas in the state that are like unincorporated. So whereas the city of Rainier is one of 157 Maryland municipalities, and whereas municipal government represents the most responsible level of government, allowing the residents to have this direct access to their elected officials, and whereas municipalities enhance the quality of life for the residents by providing various services tailored to their particular needs and desires of the community, and whereas the city of Rainier maintains municipal facilities, streets, sidewalks, parks, nature areas, collects refuse and recycling, clears snow, leaves, manage water storm, protects tenants through rent stabilizations and other laws, provides recreation classes and programs, maintain the full service municipal libraries and full service police department, and whereas in effort to educate residents about municipal government and importance of actively and informed participation by residents, the city of Rainier is proud to promote municipal government awareness, and whereas municipalities help to make Maryland a great place to live, work, play, and explore. Now, therefore, I, Selena Benitez, Mayor of the City of Rainier, do hypercane November as Municipal Government Works Month, and I call this observance to the attention of all of our citizens. And that's the standard proclamation we do every year. All right. So much on that. Next item, the agenda. We have approval of the minutes. And sorry, Valerie, I didn't see your comment until now. Valerie, so let's get hope this includes anti-Semitism, which has also reared instances in the community. Many of us experience isolation and lack of support for community. Anti-Semitism doesn't include anti-Semitism, usually 40% increase in the last few months. My apology, my eyes are hurting. Okay, I will add that to it, Valerie. That's fine before I post it out tomorrow, okay? Thank you for reminding me to add that as well. All right, approval of the minutes. The Mayor and Council vote on the approval of the minutes for September 19, 2023 work session, October 3rd, 2023 legislative meeting. The floor is now open. What do you guys want to do with this? Luke, I see your mic open. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just asked that we not discuss these now, and just I haven't had a chance to review these minutes, and I just asked that we just wait until we get to the December legislative session to pass them. That's just my request to the group so I can have more time.
Selena, you're muted.
Mayor, you're muted.
Selena, you're still muted.
So I said, you guys heard that request from Luke. If you guys wish to table them for next meeting, please let me know, put your thumbs up, and we'll table them. It is 10 o'clock. Good, Jared, you're good. Look, Valerie, Danielle, all right. So we're tabling the minutes until next meeting. Moving on to item number 20, adjournment. Can I have so move to adjourn the meeting at 10:03?
So moved.
Well, I just needed a second, but okay.
Sorry.
It's been second and third. Any discussion, objection, or extension? Hearing none. This meeting has come to an end at technically 10:03. All right, Mr. Kamali and staff, thank you so much for being so patient with us. And as a reminder to residents, the holiday lights in the circle, Holiday Plaza, as we called it, have already been light up since Halloween. We are going to be having a streak of various festivals for a diverse community, and we light up the circle to let people know that we're celebrating with them, no matter their religion or belief. We are standing with them, and that's the way we celebrated, turning on the lights for the holiday circle. So please send our thank you to Rocio and Melissa, Pink, Jared as well. Thank you for being here through the late night, Mr. Kamali as well. So thank you guys. Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Thanks,
Thank you, Mr.
everyone.
Kamali.
Good night, everyone.
Oops.
And Chief, I hope you feel better.